World Series. An hour before the Major League Baseball trade deadline, the Dodgers made a deal with the Detroit Tigers to acquire right-handed pitcher Tarik Skubal, the best pitcher in baseball the last 2 years. Skubal won the Cy Young Award in 2025 and 2024. The Dodgers only had to give up 3 minor league prospects to get him. Alabama A&M will be the first HBCU football team to wear a corporate logo on their jersey. Alabama A&M, a member of the SWAC Conference, agreed to a $250,000 sponsorship deal with Omni2 Max, a tech services firm based in San Diego. The deal was put together by Omni2 Max business development manager Siobhan Kamek, an Alabama A&M alumnus. The logo patch will be on the jerseys for Alabama A&M season opener August 29th against Howard in the SWAC MEAC Challenge in Atlanta. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavisSmileyShow.com. That's thetavisSmileyShow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. It's Monday, so Dr. Cornel West kicks us off in our second hour. On the B side of our two, what is this nuclear deal between the White House and Saudi Arabia, and why does it matter to you and me? Nuclear disarmament expert Vincent Ntande is here to explain it on the backside of our two. In our third hour, Law Professor Kim Wehle on the incoherent theory of presidential power embraced by the U.S. Supreme Court. We'll let her explain that. But speaking of the Supreme Court, I want to start right there with our regular contributor, who I have here for the hour, and I'm glad about it, Connie Rice. Connie, how are you?
Hey, steady and focused.
Steady and focused. I love it. I'm trying to be. By the way, speaking of steady and focused, at the top of the second hour, as you know, Dr. West will be here and have a brief update for you in follow-up to our town hall last Thursday night, our standing room only town hall that was covered by every major news network affiliate here in Southern California, holding these black leaders accountable. A major update at the top of the second hour. I'll share with you. Stick around for that. So we just getting started on this, so I got some news for you. that I'll share top of second hour when Dr. West joins us. Why? Because Dr. West was here last week, spoke at the town hall, so it makes sense to share that with you and with him at the top of hour 2 today. That said, Mark Morial was here last week, and the Urban League had their annual convention this year, and we were pleased to have him here last week to sort of tee that up. A lot of folk ran through that convention over the last few days, including a number of persons who they expect, the Urban League, we expect, might likely run for president. They invited a number of people. A number showed up, including former Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, I told you a moment ago, we'll talk more expressly about the Supreme Court in our third hour today. Lots to get into then. But I want to start with Connie, brilliant lawyer herself, amazing, a towering public intellectual herself. So I start with this because here's what Kamala had to say at the convention last week. Before Miles plays it, I raise this because I've asked this question time and time and time again. Everybody's talking about this right-wing 6-3 Supreme Court. My friend LaDoris Cordell, retired judge, calls them the 6 Supreme Disappointments. The Supreme Disappointments. That's what she calls them. Everybody's been talking about how we fix this. Do we expand the court? Do we change the notion of sitting there for life? There are a lot of ways to sort of get at this. And I've been asking, who do you see on the Democratic side running for president, potentially, who's going to take this issue on? Because Joe Biden had a chance. He punted. Obama had a chance. He punted. So tell me who you're looking at in the field of potential candidates who you think might seriously take this issue on. Wait for it. Wait for it.
They are ruthless. We need to be ruthless too. And by that, I do not mean cruel. That is not our nature. By that, I do not mean breaking the law. That is not what we do. But I do mean we must be uncompromising. And we must allow for a real conversation about revisiting certain things. For example, and I know this is going to be controversial coming from me in particular, we need to revisit the Electoral College. We need to revisit the point of expanding the court to 13 justices like we have 13 district courts.
Ouch. Connie, did you see that coming? Kamala Harris talking about revisiting the Electoral College, but Kamala Harris suggesting that we should expand the Supreme Court to 13 members. I see how she rooted that because we have 13 district courts. I see the logic. I see how she's connecting the dots. I got 2 minutes here. Set the frame for me on that latter issue. We'll come back to Electoral College, but set the frame for me as to what you see and hear her saying at this particular moment about the court, and then we'll jump from there.
I'm not sure it's comprehensive enough, Tavis. She's at least approaching the right zip code. At least they're not talking about shampoo for brain cancer, okay?
Yeah.
I'm relieved about that. All right, they're at least starting to talk about. Now, the conference talked about restoration, which I think is a mistake. You can't talk about restoration when you're in a revolutionary moment. We are in the Second American Revolution. They are resetting everything back to 1850 before the Civil Rights Amendments for the Constitution. So I'm glad to hear the former Vice President talk about expanding the court. Those are at least starting to get strong enough to talk about, to meet the crisis where it is. But it's not enough. It's not enough because dealing with the Supreme Court without dealing with the filibuster, without dealing with extreme gerrymandering, without dealing with money as speech in politics. We have an oligarchy right now. It's not enough to address all of the militant destruction of fact-based, evidence-based driven processes that protect our rights. It's not enough to take care of a civil service protection that is being dismantled so that we have a bunch of morons and talk show hosts running the country. And it's not enough to protect independent, qualified agencies who protect our food and our water. We have to have a comprehensive reset, a counter-revolution to put democracy, multiracial, multicultural democracy back on the tracks and take this train of white nationalism off the tracks.
Going to be a great first hour. It always is when Connie Rice shows up. I'm already just laughing every day at the way these potential candidates are staking out their ground. And everybody realizes that they've got to say something, do something that's going to make you uniquely different to stand out from the crowd. So Rahm Emanuel goes all the way to Israel, Jewish that he is, Jewish brother that he is. He goes to Israel to give a speech in the Holy Land, telling Israel that you got this all backwards. That was a little brazen, some people thought, but Rahm is on the record about that issue. Kamala Harris now steps out and says it's time to expand the court to 13 members, and so everybody's staking out their ground as they start to advance toward what will likely be campaign launch announcements in the not-too-distant future. Going to be a great first hour, as I say, with Connie Rice. I see now where I want to go. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Every day, somebody somewhere is trying to silence the truth. Not on this show. For over 3 decades now, Tavis Smiley has been bringing you the conversations that matter, the voices that challenge, the ideas that move us forward, from the halls of power to the heart of the community. Tavis covers it all. Real talk in real time. This is Tavis Smiley.
You served behind the desk.
You served in combat.
You did 4 years and got out.
You were drafted.
You gave 20 years.
You gave exactly what your country needed.
And so did you.
When you raised your hand and swore an oath to your country, when you put your name on a dotted line, you became part of only 1% of Americans who did the same. You are a veteran.
You are a veteran.
You are a veteran. Because no matter when, where, or how you served, you made a sacrifice for your country, and you deserve support.
If you're struggling with life after service, don't wait. Reach out.
Reach out to a loved one, to a fellow veteran, to VA.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
Been dealing with the lies of Crenshaw Destination. I live on this street. I remember the first day I came and there was no parking. And they said it'd be 6 months just to fix the wall. They started putting the big boulders down, and my life has changed ever since then. My kids haven't had graduation parties. They haven't had birthdays. My car's been in the shop multiple times. All my tires have been replaced multiple times, each one. I spent $1,000 on my front lawn because in 6 months, keep replacing sprinkler. Now it's just dirt. You know, it's frustrating because I'm not a politician, but I know politics. You know, and I know that Smiley said the councilman, but I want to go above that. Karen, you want my vote? Make things happen. Talk is cheap. We can play these games. Period. Because you can't fix it, somebody will.
Not letting them get away with anything. We're KBLA, Talk 1580.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including Mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County Sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Connie Rice, towering public intellectual civil rights attorney, one of our regular contributors, and we are always delighted when Connie leads us off. It's going to be a good day when Connie Rice is here, especially when Cornel West is coming right behind her. You can't do much better than that. Connie passing the baton to Cornel, the C's. are on top of things today, and I'm glad to have them both. Connie, back to this issue we were talking a moment ago about expanding the court. So you ran a list, as you always do. You ran a list of a lot of things that the Democratic Party needs to be focused on. We'll get there. There's a squabble up, as you know, inside the party. It got worse over the weekend. James Carville is at it again. Hassan Piker, they're going at it. They went at it on CNN over the weekend. So we'll get to the Democratic Party and that implosion, as it were, in just a second. It seems like every other day I'm talking about that because the story has legs. And as I said before, Ken Martin keeps saying, I ain't going. I think he's gone unless Democrats can run the table in November. That might give them a reprieve, but there's just too much drama. When the storyline is about your party leadership every day, something's got to give. I'll come back to that later. I digress on that for now. But you ran a list of things. You mentioned money in politics. You mentioned gerrymandering. You mentioned the filibuster. You ran a long list of issues. I wonder whether or not, even though there are many of us who believe that the answer to the Supreme Court may very well be expanding the number, is this the fight to fight now? And is the order correct? Is this what is Electoral College and expanding the court what Kamala Harris ought to be leading with, or any other candidate for that matter?
You know what? It's not just the list. Those issues that I raised and that the vice president raised, they are part of the solution. Mm-hmm. But if you give people a list, their eyes glaze over, right? Mm-hmm. They don't know what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. They have no idea what they mean by electoral college. They don't even know what the electoral college is. That's for nerds. That's a conversation that I could have with the vice president, and we would both finish each other's sentences. Okay, mm-hmm. But if you ask working class voters, you saw the poll that listed all kinds of issues, not these issues, but issues like affordability, mm-hmm. issues like their gas prices and so forth. If you ask those voters, saving democracy, working class Democrats and independents, it was 18th on the list. Mm-hmm. It's number one on my list, but it's 18th on theirs. And that's critical to know. You can't talk about saving democracy, reforming the Electoral College. Intellectual concepts like that don't reach voters. Mm-hmm. So, Tavis, while I think that the Urban League conversation and the debates that were had and the agendas that were set out and the action agenda that came out of it are all steps in the right direction, they're a little bit like a leave for Agent Orange, okay? Not going to get it. And I think that what we first have to talk about is offering the American people an alternative to the total destruction that vindicates their anger. Mm-hmm. What we have is chaos and destruction. They turn to that rather than folks who are talking about, okay, can we get back to restoring, regular order in Congress? Acting like Jack Kemp and Bob Dole are still alive. Voters know that what we had has been destroyed, and that if you talk about just restoring it, that doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound feasible. It's kind of like missing the mark. So I think first you've got to offer a viable economic vision that says, look, we understand why you feel like you've been left behind, because you have, and here are the real reasons why. Mm-hmm. It's not because 3 Negroes went to Harvard. If you think you're left in your trailer cooking meth because Harvard admitted 3 Negroes, you're dumber than I thought you were. That is not the reason that you have no health care, that your local hospital is being closed, that your kids can't stay with you because there are no jobs in your rural county. The reason you're stuck in the mud, you're stuck at the bottom of the well, is because of these things. Let's fix these things together and have a list. You're right. The NAFTA trade agreements screwed you. You're right. Everything that Democrats and Republicans did to unleash trade and stuff, they didn't take care of people at the bottom. They left everybody behind. It's not that there's anything wrong with international trade, it's that you've got to build a bridge to that future. You can't have coal miners who used to earn $100,000 earn nothing because you've decided to outlaw coal. That doesn't work. That produces Trump. So you've got to do an antidote to that, give an economic vision, a political vision that says, you know what, going back to pre-slavery isn't the way to go. Let's go forward together, and we'll show you how you're not going to be left behind. We're going to show you how, so what if the country turns brown doesn't mean you're going to be treated the way white people treated brown people. That's not what we're about. We've got an inclusive vision. So if you don't set out that economic vision, that political vision of how to get back to a road that takes us forward, and tell people we've got to do what King said. If you don't have the poor united, demanding humanity and dignity and viability and economic prosperity that's shared together, we're going to perish. And that is what King told us in his Playboy interview. If you remember, he talked about the Grand Alliance.
Oh, yeah.
He said if the poor white man and the poor black man don't understand they're both obsolete to these corporations, he had no idea. He called it automation. He didn't even see AI coming, right? But he called it 60 years ago. And sure enough, the prophet of America, Martin Luther King Jr., told us where we would be, and here's where we are. And he prescribed a grand alliance that demands an agenda of human dignity, human prosperity. It is not about corporate oligarchs who are richer than God and misanthropic tech gods who have decided that people are superfluous. We can't let them take the levers of power and control our future. Here's how we block that, too. Yeah. You've got to offer an alternative. It's not enough to just let Trump and company be demonized and say, look how crazy they are. They are. We've got the nuts in charge of the asylum. That's true. But if you don't offer a remedy that shows how you get back control and give people a way forward, they're going to lose. The reason I hesitate about expanding the court, Tavis, is I don't think the Democrats are competent enough to fill those seats. They'll probably have the Republicans fill them with more MAGA judges. That's what scares me. They're proposing stuff. I wouldn't trust the Democrats to get a 2-car funeral to the cemetery. Do you see these people?
A 2-car funeral to the cemetery. Lord have mercy. Connie's dropping bars. So let me pick up on that notion, because while you were saying that, I was laughing, but also thinking at the same time. Here's what concerns me. So you and I are simpatico in this regard. So I wasn't going to go there, but here's where I was going to go. I wasn't taking 2 cars to the cemetery, but here's the direction I was headed in. What scares me about the Democrats raising this issue is that it is going to anger and coalesce and mobilize the right like no other issue Democrats could raise. Why do I say that? Glad you asked. Because everything they have done for the last 60 years, use Connie's number, has been aimed at the court system. They out-strategize Democrats on how to pack the courts, on how to use the court system. That became their end-all, be-all. Everything is about the courts. If you now start running on an agenda to expand the court to 13, and they believe that this is going to be the end of their ability to control the narrative because they will no longer have the most votes on the U.S. Supreme Court, you talk about mobilizing the right. So again, I'm not suggesting it's not a legitimate issue. I'm just suggesting I don't trust Democrats to raise that issue for us to turn out in the numbers that they will turn out when you start messing with their pet project, if that makes any sense, Connie.
Amen. 100%. Okay. And remember we talked about the order of battle?
Yes.
This is the order of issues. You don't even put that in the mix right now.
This is my point. You know, go, Connie. Go ahead.
Talk about that after you've got the Senate and the House in your pocket and you control them. Okay? You don't even talk about it then. You just do it. Stop talking about stuff that's going to poke the bear and just do it. You know, announce an economic agenda. Announce the corruption and rot that is raising people's costs of living, and lining the pockets of the Trump family by $4 billion, and connect those boulders and make an economic argument that says, okay, you want to stop the drain on you? Okay, we're stopping that Iran war day one. We're just pulling out. He does an unconstitutional war with Iran and loses. You know, that's why it takes $100 to fill your tank. Gas prices are plummeting because the Strait of Hormuz is going to be open one way or another, even if Iran charges fees, and we're pulling out. We're not doing this anymore. And you go down that list. We are going to help you with housing prices. We are going to get child care. People can't work because they can't afford to have their kids taken care of. We're going to talk about health care. That clinic that closed outside of Rennes, Georgia. It's opening in a month, okay? Mm-hmm. We're restoring the funding. So talk about restoring funding, not restoring old arguments of 20 years ago. Talk about the Economic Recovery Act and talk about what it's going to mean. Then talk about the infrastructure for upward mobility, not just affordability, but viability and upward mobility. Mm-hmm. We've lost the dream. So you've got to give an that's the agenda you focus on. You don't talk about the court and the Electoral College. You know, look, I'm going to mea culpa here if we have time.
Go.
We were in the courts battling in the old legal regime, right? We had all these laws. We thought we had a Voting Rights Act. We thought we had a Housing Discrimination Act. So I, as a civil rights lawyer, was in the courts battling and missed the wired self-immolation and detonation of the entire construct. Every case I brought, Tavis, I couldn't bring it today because they've taken down all those laws. So we missed the long vision demolition that they hired. You know how they wire a building to have it come down? We missed it.
The other thing that concerns me about the frame that Kamala Harris was in her Urban League speech, Connie and I agree that now is just not the time to raise these issues because you're poking the bear. Win the election, get the House back, get the Senate back, and then just run your play. Again, stop talking about what you're going to do and getting people excited and on the one side and coalescing against you on the other side. Just do it like Donald Trump did. If you've learned nothing from Donald Trump, when you get in, sorry, Nike, thank you, Nike, just do it. That's the agenda. But the other thing that concerns about her frame, especially talking about the Electoral College, to your point, it's sort of highbrow, right? Most folks still don't know how the Electoral College works, number one. But number two, Biden tried this before he passed the baton. They thought the messaging was going to be, we have to save the democracy from this existential threat of Donald Trump. That messaging didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't work so badly, or it didn't work at all. So Trump ends up being reelected. So that notion of this messaging point being we're going to save the democracy because he represents an existential threat was too much in the clouds or too much in the weeds. Pick your metaphor. That didn't work. And I'm hearing Kamala leaning into that same kind of sort of highbrow messaging, if I can call it that, Connie, and that scares me.
It scares me too because I'm just like her.
Yeah.
I talk just like I am a highly trained lawyer, totally elitist.
Yeah.
You know, I got ivy coming out of my armpits, right? I know that when I talk to everyday people, I can't speak that way.
Yeah.
All right? You know, the young kids, you say, yo, lady lawyer, break it down. You know, you got to break it down, okay? How do I break it down? Well, say it like this. They had to teach me how to speak to them because I was completely missing them. I was 10,000 miles over their heads, and they're looking at me like, what the hell is wrong with this? You know what? So I understand it, and I respect it. You have to speak to your audience in a way they can understand. And it doesn't mean they're less intelligent than you or less able. It means you're missing your audience.
Yeah. Speaking of missing, Kai and I are missing out on a whole lot of money because if we ever start a consulting firm of Rice and Smiley, we might make some money advising these campaigns because sometimes the things they do and the way they do it, I just don't get it. Why you would jump out advancing these issues right now, I just don't get. Legitimate though they may be, I'm just not sure that the framing and the timing makes any sense. I digress for now. It looks like Todd Blanche may get through. These holdout Republican senators have finally come around, given that he has promised to do away with this anti-weaponization fund, this $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund. I don't quite get it because Blanche is saying, I'm going to do away with it. He has so written that on paper. These senators now have it, and they're ready to vote for him. But I thought I just read Donald Trump saying he's going to add another way. He's going to take another strike at it. So who knows what to believe? We'll talk about Todd Blanche with Connie Rice when we come forward on Tavis.
Who's sitting across from Tavis this week? Leaders, legends, game changers. The people shaping the country and the culture. They come to Tavis Smiley because this is where the real conversations happen. No spin, no fluff, just straight talk and straight answers. Tavis Smiley, because the Kingian question, where do we go from here, starts right here.
I'm Mike Island with BIN News Now. If you drive a Ford F-150 or 250 pickup truck, you should know there is a recall. You may be experiencing this problem. A spokesperson says when you go in reverse, the rear camera's display screen gets blocked when the menu is open. A letter is going out about it this month. In Ohio, Senator Bernie Moreno says Ohio Congressman Max Miller should not serve in the House of Representatives. This comes following allegations of abuse made by Moreno's daughter against Miller. As we've been reporting to you today on the Black Information Network, a new round of peace talks with Iran are set to begin. President Trump halted new airstrikes on Iran ahead of the planned talks, although he didn't disclose where they would be held. Reopening the Strait of Hormuz is expected to be a primary focus of the negotiations. Get BIN News Now, on demand, 24/7, on the free iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
Is this the tackle? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers believe they have added the final piece to winning a third straight World Series. An hour before the Major League Baseball trade deadline, the Dodgers made a deal with the Detroit Tigers to acquire right-handed pitcher Tarik Skubal, the best pitcher in baseball the last 2 years. Skubal won the Cy Young Award in 2025 and 2024. The Dodgers only had to give up 3 minor league prospects to get him. Alabama A&M will be the first HBCU football team to wear a corporate logo on their jersey. Alabama A&M, a member of the SWAC Conference, agreed to a $250,000 sponsorship deal with Omni2 Max, a tech services firm based in San Diego. The deal was put together by Omni2 Max business development manager Siobhan Kamek, an Alabama A&M alumnus. The logo patch will be on the jerseys for Alabama A&M season opener August 29th against Howard in the SWAC MEAC Challenge in Atlanta. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
We're not adults, so just be there and listen. I just want someone to yap to. And I just feel like I'll be fine if someone just hears me talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
You're doing a really good job. And I don't think I tell you that enough. And I know sometimes we get into it and it's just hard on both of us. But, try to understand me more and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
What's good, KBLA delegation? I am Miles Lowe, and I'm excited to be joining the weekend lineup right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Join me every Saturday at 12 noon for the Do Better Show, where we get into the world of tech, AI, the creator economy, navigating your mental health through it all, and have conversations with founders to find out how real people are making real money right now. It's not a course, not a subscription. Class is in session every weekend, live on the air. So if you knew better, you do better, right? So let's make a better you. The Do Better Show, every Saturday, 12 noon, and replaying again at 7 p.m. right here on Unapologetically Progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We got a lot to talk.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with Connie Rice and full docket in this first hour today. Glad to have Connie with us. So, Connie, let me pivot to Todd Blanche. I was saying a moment ago, of course, we know Todd Blanche is the acting attorney general after Trump kicked out Pam Bondi. He was Trump's personal attorney. That all came out with that Freudian slip during his confirmation hearings where he referred to himself as Trump's personal attorney. Hold up, homie. You can't say that during a confirmation hearing when you're trying to become attorney general. You cannot refer to yourself as the president's personal lawyer, but it slipped out anyway. And so there are a number of senators, including a couple of Republicans, Cornyn out of Texas, Tom Tillis out of North Carolina, even Susan Collins had some questions about whether or not they were going to support him based on this $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund that he has been behind as acting AG. So Todd Blanche says that he will put in writing that he will do away with this fund. If he puts it in writing, that satisfies these Republican holdouts. Todd Blanche gets an on-ramp to become the next attorney general. Meanwhile, Donald Trump says over the weekend that he will revive the anti-weaponization fund if Todd Blanche's nomination for AG is blocked. So I just told you now, they've unblocked it, essentially. But Donald Trump threatened to reinstate it if they didn't let him through, which raises, to my mind at least, Connie, the obvious question is, okay, so once Todd Blanche does in fact get confirmed, since we already know what Donald Trump wants to do anyway, what's to stop them? No matter what Todd Blanche has pledged, what's to stop them at that point from bringing back this slush fund, as it were?
Absolutely nothing. You know,
there you go.
These profiles, I'm telling you, let's just consider this for a quick second. You've got Cornyn and Tillis. Trump kicked them out of office, even on their way out the door, crawling out the Senate door on their hands and knees. They've drawn a line in the sand. They're still impersonating vertebrates. They have totally caved. Okay? It doesn't matter. Blanche was Attorney General when Bondi was in there. And it doesn't matter. There's no Department of Justice anymore. The FBI has lost 4,000 years of expertise. We are totally naked. If I were a terrorist, I'd attack the United States right now because we are deaf, blind, and dumb. You know, I mean, this is MAGA government. Sicker, poor, dumber, and deader. And Blanche is one of the head honchos of it. So I don't know why they're wasting time focusing on this. He's going to be the Attorney General, and the continued destruction of the rule of law, our rights, including the First Amendment, as they try to kill all of the fact-based, evidence-driven information. Something else the Democrats have got to focus on if they expect to be viable and not preside over this place becoming an entrenched plutocracy. It's already a plutocracy, meaning government of and by the ultra-rich. And you add the tech gods in there, democracy is done. So this is one of our last chances to try to stand up to it. And Tavis, and your first questions were about how to do that. You've got to stop the reverse Robin Hood, and you've got to stand up and offer a real vision of what can work. Blanche has nothing to do with any of that. He's like the reflecting pool. He's just a distraction and another lie. By the way, they had to drop that lawsuit too.
Hey, your lawsuits are dropping like flies, Connie. They're dropping like flies. These lawsuits. Let me watch my timer. Let me pivot to a couple other things. Not a whole lot to say about Todd Blanche. It is a trending news story right about now, but on this program, ain't a whole lot to say. He's going to get through. And once he gets through, based on what Trump's already told you over the weekend, you know they're going to revive this slush fund. Enough said. We'll move on. Let me move on to the Democratic Party. We were there earlier, but not really on the inside. Let me go straight on the inside. Connie, you've been watching this as I have, and this tete-a-tete is, this thing grows. Donna Brazile wrote a piece in the Washington Post last week, said there is no effort to oust Ken Martin. Let's move on. Well, ain't anybody moved on, because on CNN over the weekend, Anderson Cooper on his program had a mano a mano between James Carville essentially and Mr. Piker, and James Carville said if he becomes a force in the Democratic Party, I'm out. As a matter of fact, I got a clip I think I can play here, Miles. Let me pull this clip and give you a sense of what happened on this program. Take a listen for yourself.
I think these guys have failed so publicly and so spectacularly that it has caused people to seek out alternatives.
I see challenges from the, quote, progressive left, unquote, and these people are too hard-headed to know that they're not popular. People don't like them. They don't win elections. They never run against Republicans. They just run against other Democrats. And their only message is, we're going to blow everything up.
James Carville says this is all going to implode at the general election.
Yeah, as opposed to previous neoliberal Democratic candidacies that have been spectacular successes so far. Hillary Rodham Clinton in 2016 and Kamala Harris in 2024. There are a lot of people who are just like, this is not working. Cost of living crisis is completely out of control. Democrats haven't done anything about it. Republicans haven't done anything about it. There has to be a different alternative.
I have one simple philosophy about politics. Winning is everything, stupid. Let's think of somebody. Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders ran for president twice. You know what he did twice? He lost. By a lot.
Because for progressives, getting out of the primary is a far more difficult battle than winning in the general. This is our theory. The reason for that is because Republicans don't have a vision for change. Socialists do.
With all due respect to my friend Donna Brazile, who I said last week as former chair of the Democratic Party, interim twice, she tried to tamp this down. This thing's got legs, Connie, and Democrats are going at each other. Well, how you reading it?
Remember we talked about the circular firing squad?
Yep.
They got 4 of them going, right?
Yep.
Okay, so this is another waste of time because it can't afford it. The bottom line is we don't need to enter into these label wars. This is about power within the party, which I think is going to be irrelevant if they don't win power in Washington. So my advice, you got to remember, I sue Democrats for a living, so I'm not a Democrat. Just full disclosure, okay? My advice that they will not listen to is forget about the labels. I don't know what the labels mean. When you say democratic socialist, are you talking about the agenda of ending prisons and taking over state control of corporations? Then no. If you're talking about subsidizing child care, making housing affordable, changing the mortgage rates, making retirement viable, talking about viable strategies to end homelessness along with the affordable housing, energy costs, medical costs, you talk about a pathway to just viability, economic viability. I don't know what label you put on that. Is it socialist? Is it democratic? Is it progressive Republican? I don't care. The labels are irrelevant. It's the substance of the solutions and showing people that you actually have what it takes to make it happen. See, the problem with Democrats is that they may have some good ideas, but like I said, I don't think they could get a 2-tank convoy into the parade. They just can't execute. And they let process trip them up. They're so entangled in red tape and whatnot. You saw what Mom Donnie did. He did that little video where he put red tape in through the shredder, took another piece of paper that said bureaucracy, stranglehold, put that in the shredder. And then he eliminated a whole bunch of regulations that really just slowed down projects that people wanted to have happen. Small business loved it. The base loved it. So that was about substance and solution. He fixed something. Okay? All they have to offer a plumber's plan. How are you going to get the toilet fixed? Don't talk to me about saving water. Yeah. How are you going to fix my toilet? Nope. Okay. That's the level. And then you can add in, as backdrop, the vision for democracy hasn't worked for you. Well, let us show you how these processes can work for you and not get in your way.
Yep.
And you don't have to hate everybody to do it.
Yep. To Connie's point about labels, there's a relatively new survey that's out that finds, wait for this, that 1 in 3 Democrats consider themselves democratic socialists. Can't wait to talk to Dr. West about this top of the second hour. 1 in 3 Democrats now consider themselves democratic socialists. 1 in 3? How is that possible? It's Connie's point. It depends on how you define the term. Depending on how you define it, you say, yeah, I'm for that. I'm for that. I'm for that, and I'm for that too. So now you got 1 in 3 Democrats who are actually embracing the term, saying to this pollster that they are in fact democratic socialists. I could have imagined that just a few years ago. When we come forward, that said, a new analysis of black voters in the South indicates that Republican attempts to dilute their political power, like that Louisiana versus Calais case that gutted the Voting Rights Act as we know it, stuff like that, actually has been driving black voters to the polls in larger numbers and shifting these 78 counties in which this study was done further to the left. I think that's good news. We'll talk to Connie about it when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From Lamert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
The KBLA 1580 app puts the realest conversations right in your pocket. Stream live wherever you are in the world. No static. No searching the dial. A crystal clear connection 24/7, exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it. So the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Can I touch this? Where does sand come from? Is this tree good for climbing? What happens if I mix these two things together? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Storing your guns securely is the best way to prevent family fire, including unintentional shootings. For more information on safe gun storage and ways to keep your family safe, visit endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org.
What do we keep in the attic? What's this thing called? Can I ride my bike backwards?
Like I said, kids are curious. It's up to us to keep them safe. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Ooh-wee, Fridays just got better. What's up? I'm Amanda Seals, and this is your invitation to come and sit with me. Yes, get seated as I do my thing on KBLA Talk 1580. We're talking noon to 2 p.m., then back again 4 to 6 p.m. Same day, same station. Bring your opinions, because you know I'm going to have mine. Bring your questions, because you know I got answers. And bring yourself, because, baby, we want you to be authentic at all times. Fridays on KBLA Talk 1580, I'll be waiting. Join me.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
We've had neighbors who have had the garbage truck potentially swipe their vehicles because if you park just a little bit too much into the street, you're at risk of getting it hit. If you park too much forward or back, you can't get in and out of your own driveway. And if you're late for a meeting or an appointment, pretty big deal. I really hope we never have a major emergency on this street because being able to get fire department in and out would be very difficult. Personally, what while the project goes well beyond anything that my husband and I are facing personally with our home, we do have a very large project within our house. We are very blessed to be in it, but it needs a completely new foundation. It is currently slipping into Crenshaw right now, and we cannot do that work because a concrete truck can't come in to actually do the work. So it's a bit scary for us in that manner. But there have been, there are numerous things that I know we will hear about today that everybody is facing on a daily basis. We really look forward to hearing what everybody has been going through and then trying to find a way to get the construction complete and move forward.
Making sure they follow through. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
And the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Tavis Smiley and Connie Rice, I repeat, this is some interesting news that there is some analysis that finds, by the way, it's Vote Hub. It's a data-focused election organization. It's called Vote Hub. You can look up their website and read it for yourself, Vote Hub. But their analysis, Connie, suggests that black voters in the South, given these Republican attempts continually to dilute their political power, particularly after this gutting of the Voting Rights Act, as we know by the Supreme Court, is driving black voters to the polls in greater numbers. They did this research in 78 counties, and they find that in these black belt counties, turnout is going up, has gone up since that decision. How do you read it?
Well, the Republicans have resurrected George Wallace, Strom Thurmond, and Bull Connor. They just dug them all up. They've resurrected all of them. Well, that's not surprising. A party that has white nationalists, the Klan, neo-Nazis, slavery was a jobs training program, fools. A party that entertains all those guys, that they have. The one thing that they're going to succeed at is the anti-black advancement agenda. They've done that. They haven't done a whole lot of other things, but that's one place where they're going to succeed, and they have. So voting rights as we know it is over. The Voting Rights Act as we knew it is dead, or it's on life support in a coma. And African-American voters everywhere, but especially in the South, because folks who stayed in the South paid the highest price to get those Voting Rights Acts, Civil Rights Acts passed. People died. And I think that memory, that community memory, isn't completely gone, and that's what you're seeing. They're wiping out black representation. If they keep this up, you're going to have the black caucus big enough to fit in a phone booth. And I exaggerate a little, but not by much. So, and we have to reconceive of what black representation means. So you and I have talked about this before. We may have to become more like the Armenians and the Jews who have disproportionate power to their numbers. We're going to have to take that minority power model and make it for ourselves. But that's for the agenda that we should have had at the Urban League, but didn't. So I'm looking at this and thinking, if we're not focused on getting the money and the gerrymandering out, that there's such structural advantages for the GOP. They can put Attila the Hun, Caligula, and Jeffrey Dahmer in there. We have a mixture of all three of them in the White House right now. And yet Democrats poll lower than Trump. That tells you where we are. So that party can't really defend African-American voting rights. They can't even defend their own. And what we're going to have to do is African-American voters are absolutely right. You've got to have a surge. That's the one power we've got. We have the power to show up and not be moved.
Our remaining moments for Connie Rice when we come forward here on Tavis Smiley.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. These are hard times for housing in America. Too many in our community face barriers to safe housing, behavioral health care, and affirming spaces for healing, particularly those impacted by poverty and stigma or incarceration. Rooted in South LA, AMAD supports impacted communities through housing, wellness, and leadership development.
Ahmad provides culturally responsive, peer-led support from transitional housing and mental health services to leadership development and youth empowerment. They offer safe, affirming houses for youth, transgender women, and formerly incarcerated individuals. Therapy and peer support with a focus on healing trauma in Black communities. HIV prevention and care, free testing, education, and wraparound services for whole person wellness. Standing in the gap with health, housing, and hope. Reach out to Ahmad Institute at 323-569-1610. That's 323-569-1610. Or visit amaad.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You say you'd never give in to a meltdown. Never let kids' toys take over the house. And never fill your feed with kid photos. You'd never plan your life around their schedule. Never lick your thumb to clean their face. And you'd never let them leave the house looking like less than their best. You say you'd never put a pacifier in your mouth to clean it. Never let them stay up too late. And never let them run wild through the grocery store.
We have on aisle 6 and aisle 3.
So when you say you'd never let them get into a car without you there, no, it can happen. 1 in 4 hot car deaths happen when a kid gets into an unlocked car and can't get out. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Connie Rice for the next 2 minutes here. We've covered a lot of ground in this particular hour, and I thank Connie for that. I guess, Connie, the question I'm asking now, I've asked this of you in the past. I ask again, at this moment, what do you see between now and November?
Chaos.
Yeah.
I'm waiting on these elections in Michigan, the sort of swing state elections.
Mm-hmm.
The structural inequity that I talked about is that they've run the table. They've locked up so many partisan seats that there aren't many seats to fight over. So the Democrats have to really win all of them. So watching Michigan, it's almost like you have to watch the micro game, election by election. Then you've got to look at the overall strategy. Are they going to do their circular firing squad? Or are they going to realize that they've got one shot at getting it together and making something happen in November that gives them at least the House? They could lose the House if they keep up this circular firing squad stuff. So I've got my eye on that.
Mm. Yeah, I hear Connie. I've warned 1,000 times against irrational exuberance, and I want to see this turn as much as anybody else does in this audience, at least. And it'd be nice if the House could be taken back. It'd be nice if the Senate could be taken back. It'd be nice, all things considered, if Hakeem Jeffries were Speaker as opposed to Mike Johnson, even though I have a critique of Hakeem Jeffries, my friend, my frat brother. I ain't got a problem with that history. And yet, the last time we thought a big wave was coming, it didn't come. We thought a big red wave was coming during the Biden era. It didn't quite materialize. And now everybody's hoping for a big blue wave. We shall see, but there is work to be done. That's the bottom line. There is work to be done. We can't just sit back and expect that this is magically going to happen. As always, we thank Connie Rice for kicking us off when she can in the first hour. Connie, appreciate your brilliant insights. I'll talk to you soon.
You take care, Tavis.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. Dr. Cornel West will kick us off at the top of the second hour.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Island with BIN News Now. If you drive a Ford F-150 or 250 pickup truck, you should know there is a recall. You may be experiencing this problem. A spokesperson says when you go in reverse, the rear camera's display screen gets blocked when the menu is open. A letter is going out about it this month. In Ohio, Senator Bernie Moreno says Ohio Congressman Max Miller should not serve in the House of Representatives. This comes following allegations of abuse made by Moreno's daughter against Miller. As we've been reporting to you today on the Black Information Network, a new round of peace talks with Iran are set to begin. President Trump halted new airstrikes on Iran ahead of the planned talks, although he didn't disclose where they would be held. Reopening the Strait of Hormuz is expected to be a primary focus of the negotiations. Get BIN News now, on demand, 24/7 on the free iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers believe they have added the final piece to winning a third straight World Series. An hour before the Major League Baseball trade deadline, the Dodgers made a deal with the Detroit Tigers to acquire right-handed pitcher Tarik Skubal, the best pitcher in baseball the last 2 years. Skubal won the Cy Young Award in 2025 and 2024. The Dodgers only had to give up 3 minor league prospects to get him. Alabama A&M will be the first HBCU football team to wear a corporate logo on their jersey. Alabama A&M, a member of the SWAC Conference, agreed to a $250,000 sponsorship deal with Omni 2 Max, a tech services firm based in San Diego. The deal was put together by Omni 2 Max business development manager Siobhan Kamek, an Alabama A&M alumnus. The logo patch will be on the jerseys for Alabama A&M season opener August 29th against Howard in the SWAC MEAC Challenge in Atlanta. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
Tavis, Smiley, glad you're with us at the top of the second hour. As always, on Mondays and Thursdays, we are joined by Dr. Cornel West. Before I get into what I promised you we'd talk about with Dr. West in this hour, there is some breaking news at this moment, and it is, I admit up front, it is sad news for me. It is sad news for Dr. West because this happens to be a personal friend of ours. And I have believed and still believe at this moment in his innocence. And yet that does not stop me from having to share this news with you that is breaking at this hour. I read now a decision just released by the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. The panel affirmed Mark Ridley-Thomas's convictions for one count of conspiracy in violation of 18 U.S.C., one count of bribery concerning programs receiving federal funds in violation of 18 U.S.C., and 5 counts of honest service mail and wire fraud in violation of 18 USC. Ridley-Thomas is a former supervisor on the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. The convictions were based on a scheme in which Marilyn Flynn, the then dean of the School of Social Work at the University of Southern California, USC, facilitated a $100,000 donation of university funds to the nonprofit that employed Ridley-Thomas's son, Sebastian, in exchange for Ridley-Thomas's vote in favor of a telehealth contract between the county and USC. The panel held that the district court did not err in denying Ridley-Thomas's motion for judgment of acquittal for his honest service fraud convictions. The service of funneling $100,000 from Ridley-Thomas to USC to United Ways for Sebastian's benefit was a thing of value, sufficient to support the 1346 convictions. Ridley-Thomas's argument that perceived reputational benefit cannot be a thing of value misstates the government's theory. It goes on and on from there. But the bottom line is that the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit has found that the convictions of Mark Ridley-Thomas have in fact been affirmed. I am not a lawyer. I don't play one on the radio, but I'm close enough to this case to know that what this means is that Mark Ridley-Thomas will have to appear back in court. As you know, he was allowed to stay out on appeal. My sense is that he'll end up back in court to hear where the sentencing has already been rendered. We saw sentencing in the case. So we know what the sentencing is already. He was allowed to stay out on appeal. And now, now it would appear that the Ninth Circuit has responded that his options are limited at this point. Again, I'm going to get an attorney. As a matter of fact, get Connie right quick. See if we can find Connie again, somebody right quick. I want to just bring her in. I need to get an attorney to tell me what this means. I know broadly what it means, but I want to ask questions about whether or not he can appeal this to the Supreme Court, or whether or not this is it, and he'll be remanded to prison sooner than later. I don't know. But anyway, that is the ruling of this court. I have, as you know, on this local station here in L.A., and by the way, if you're listening nationally, let me explain this. I jumped in so quick for the local audience in L.A. because we all know who Mark Ridley-Thomas is here in California. But Mark Ridley-Thomas, one of the most powerful black elected officials in the state of California, frankly, in its history, and was brought up on some charges that he denied from day one. He fought these charges. He lost, and he appealed, and now he's lost the appeal. But he is but one example of any number of African Americans around the country who have been brought up on charges and have fought these charges. It is the case that too often black and brown politicians are targeted, and yet you got to go to court. You got to make your case. And MRT made his case, and that case was rejected by the court in the case, and now rejected by the appellate court. Let me go to Dr. West. Let me just get your initial thoughts. Again, you and I have been longtime friends of Mark Ridley-Thomas. We don't deny that. We don't hide that. It is what it is. I do have Connie on the line. We'll get to Connie in a second to explain sort of what this means. But just your opening thoughts, Dr. West.
Well, brother, it hits me very hard, though, brother. I've known my dear brother Mark for 48 years. He's a person of tremendous integrity, unbelievable commitment to the community, especially the black community. I'm thoroughly convinced that he's innocent. That's why this is so sick to me in so many ways, especially when you got gangsters, in White House and other higher places getting away with convicted felonies and still able to serve. But the idea that Brother Mark Ridley-Thomas has to go through this kind of unfair treatment is I don't have a language for it. I just love my brother. I love him like a blood brother, and I'll be in solidarity with him until the end. And we just have to know that, we come from a people who make a way out of no way. And that the God that we serve and the Jesus that we follow will be with us no matter where we are. But we just have to continue to fight, though, brother. I can't believe it, man. I'm tongue-tied, though, brother.
No, we are stunned, in part because it's been almost 2 years, not quite. I think October and November, maybe October, maybe September, but we're pushing 2 years. So it took a long time, and these courts don't rush things. They are appellate courts. They move at their own pace. But it's been almost 2 years while we've been waiting for this verdict to come, and so that's a torture all its own. When you're waiting every day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, any day a judgment could come. And for almost 2 years, you're waiting, and every day you wake up, is this the day? Is this the day? Could this be the day? So that's a torture all its own. And then to finally, almost 2 years later, not quite, have this verdict released today that affirms the decision of the court finding Mark Ridley-Thomas guilty on these counts. Again, if you're listening nationally, it may be a name that you know, maybe a name that you don't know. But here in California, a major, long-standing public servant, 34 years straight without losing an election ever, for city council, for a state assembly, for a supervisor, back to city council. 3+ decades of serving as a public servant, elected official, but even longer when you consider his work at SCLC. Full disclosure, everybody in L.A. knows this. I worked for Mark Ridley-Thomas at SCLC L.A., the only organization King founded in his lifetime, SCLC, the L.A. chapter, one of the strongest in the country for many years. Mark was the leader of that chapter. I worked for MRT when I was a young man here in L.A. And so the connections are long and deep, and there are many in this community who I know right now in Southern California, across the country, certainly here in L.A., are just a little distressed by this decision. And yet we believe in the rule of law, and so it is what it is at the moment. Again, just trying to process all this. When we come forward, Connie Rice, we got her back on the phone. Connie is a lawyer. Obviously, she understands these things better than I do. And so we'll bring Connie Rice in with Dr. West and I when we come forward here on Tavis Smile.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
You served behind the desk.
You served in combat.
You did 4 years and got out.
You were drafted.
You gave 20 years.
You gave exactly what your country needed.
And so did you.
When you raised your hand and swore an oath to your country, when you put your name on a dotted line, you became part of only 1% of Americans who did the same. You are a veteran.
You are a veteran.
You are a veteran. Because no matter when, where, or how you served, you made a sacrifice for your country, and you deserve support.
If you're struggling with life after service, don't wait. Reach out.
Reach out to a loved one, to a fellow veteran, to VA.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
And we are here on the chocolate side of Los Angeles to simply lift up black dignity, black honor. No spirit of hatred here. We here because we love our people. We love the people of this community. We love the people of every corner of this city. But some of us start on the chocolate side. And so all of the critiques, all of the calls for accountability have nothing to do with ad hominem attacks on any elected official. It has to do with either indifference or incompetence, maybe even corruption. We don't know, but we just want to make sure that everyday people in this community are treated with the dignity that they deserve. That's why we're here.
Holding them accountable. We're KBLA, Talk 1580.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
It is a tough day for those of us who have been friends and supporters of Mark Ridley-Thomas, longtime public servant, and I do mean that. There are politicians and there are public servants. Mark, to my mind, has always been a public servant. Tough day. In case you've just tuned in and have not heard, the appeals court in this case that Mark Ridley-Thomas was brought up on has now affirmed the lower court's decision. The United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit, I repeat once again, the panel affirmed Mark Ridley-Thomas's convictions for one count of conspiracy, one count of bribery concerning programs receiving federal funds, and 5 counts of honest services mail and wire fraud, all in violation of a code known as 18 U.S.C. 13341, 1343, 1346, and 2B. That's the technical language. Let me bring in Connie Rice now. Connie, Dr. West and I obviously have already acknowledged our friendship with MRT, Mark Ridley-Thomas, and our thinking for the almost past 2 years has been that the longer it took for the appellate court to render this decision, the better we hoped it would be for MRT. Here was our thinking. Our thinking was, to quote my big mama, it don't take all day to do nothing. Now, I understand the appellate court moves at its own pace. It don't take all day to do nothing. As I said earlier, there's an almost sort of torture that goes along with waiting for almost 2 years for a decision to come down, when if you were going to affirm the court's decision, you could have done that on day 2 or day 3. That's just my read of it. Obviously, what we thought might be the case is not the case. I digress for now. Tell me how you read this, what you think of this, and I want to just get more technical here in terms of what this means, what his options are. Can he appeal this to the Supreme Court? Is it over? Talk to me, Connie.
No, it's not over. And I join you and Doc. Hi, Doc.
How you doing, my dear?
Hey, I'm doing great. I hope you are too. It's heartbreaking and it's tragic. The thing that I'm surprised about, because like you, I thought with the time that it was taking, they were really struggling with a couple of things. This is a very weak case. It's like a quid pro quo case, but there was no quid for the pro.
Mm-hmm.
So I never understood the case in the first place. The supposed thing that he gained was a good public policy that he had been fighting for 20 years.
Yeah.
And if that's what he traded favors, whatever advantage he gave to his son or whatever it was they were considering the quid, it didn't make any sense, and the real actor in this got home detention. She made a deal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Marilyn Flynn, yes.
Yeah. So for me, this was an extremely weak case. And when I talked to my former ASUAs, former federal prosecutors who held this job, including my law partners, they all said this was the kind of case they never even considered. They would always kick these kinds of cases because you couldn't see any kind of harm to the public.
Mm-hmm.
It was borderline. The behavior may have been condemnable, but it wasn't criminal.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was every last one of them. I talked to 7 of them. They said, no, this is exactly the kind of case we didn't even consider. I think it was brought because 2 Latino politicians whose cases involve things like money in paper bags given to their mothers-in-law,
mm-hmm.
real quid pro quo cases, doing something wrong against the public interest for personal enrichment. There was no personal enrichment here. and whatever benefit went to his family was so diverse. I mean, if you're going to call nepotism criminal, you're going to have to get rid of a whole political class.
Yeah.
So it was weak. I thought the appeal was strong, and I especially thought that the time was being taken because there had been an intervening case from the Supreme Court that came down that, as usual, lessened the standards for white-collar crime and political corruption. So I thought that case, the Snyder case, would help Mark Ridley-Thomas's case, and I need to look at the opinion to see whether they factored that new standard in or not. So bottom line, this was a weak case. I don't think it was criminal, and I think it was brought for political reasons. And I don't have a problem with even my friends being forced to go to prison for something that they've done that really hurts the public.
Yep.
That's just not the case here.
Yep. Let me put a finer point for those, again, listening across the country who are trying to follow this case. If you just Google the name Mark Ridley-Thomas, you can follow this, but it's been a long journey here in Southern California, years-long journey now. And again, in case you've just tuned in, the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit has affirmed the convictions against MRT, as he's commonly known, Mark Ridley-Thomas. One count of conspiracy, one count of bribery concerning programs receiving federal funds, and 5 counts rather, of honest services mail and wire fraud, all in violation of standards and codes. Connie's point a moment ago was that there was no harm to the public. There was no public money involved in this, and again, it was the argument we felt, many of us felt, and people have agency to believe what they want to believe, but we felt these arguments were specious, as Connie and Doc suggested earlier. But it is the case, Connie, as you well know, and you laid it out earlier, there have been a number of cases brought against elected officials here locally. Many people see the Los Angeles City Council, frankly, as a cesspool of corruption. Mark, these charges have to do with his time on the Board of Supervisors. But as we know here locally, after his term ended there and he couldn't run again, he ran successfully to return to the LA City Council. And so when all this went down and these charges were brought, he was actually serving on the LA City Council, having finished his time on the County Board of Supervisors, but he was still in office when all this happened. And I believe, let's just deal with it honestly and earnestly and forthrightly, Connie. This is going to sour yet again the taste of voters in Southern California about local elected officials, particularly those on the LA City Council.
I think so. You add to that they can't seem to solve the problems and don't have a vision for dealing with entrenched chronic problems that's big enough to meet the scale of the problems. I think that all adds into the malaise and the anger, the inability to meet the moment. So, yeah, I think you're right there, Tavis. I think that he will appeal to the Supreme Court. He's got a great appellate team that includes the great constitutional scholar Erwin Chemerinsky, and if he's got a shot at, I would pitch it to the Supreme Court underneath their new standard for public corruption. If anybody ought to benefit from that lessened standard, it ought to be cases like this. So that's what I'm hoping happens.
Yep. It is the case. Again, I'm just going to put everything out there because it will be talked about in the days to come. You heard Connie say that there could be a Supreme Court appeal, so it's not quite over yet, number one. And number two, there's always the Trump pardon. Don't laugh. Some of the pardons that Trump has delivered have shocked people for a variety of reasons. But I'm just putting all of the cards on the table of what the possibilities are. That is one of those sort of possibilities. Doc, let me circle back to our friendship with MRT, Mark Ridley-Thomas. Because we are friends, we happen to know that tomorrow, interestingly and shockingly, you wait almost 2 years for this decision, and it comes down the day before your anniversary. He and Tavis have been together for a long time. And this decision dropping the day before their wedding anniversary cannot be something that's going down easy in the Ridley-Thomas household right now.
Yeah, that's true. It's hard to find two human beings of higher moral and spiritual excellence as Tavis and Mark. And see, Brother Mark is probably the last great statesman in the corrupt political system in many ways, not just in California, but in the country. That very unique fusion of intellect, of love for the people, of practical judgment, follow through execution. Just look at the hospital there in South Central Los Angeles. But the Charles Drew Hospital, is that the name of it?
King Drew.
The King Drew Hospital, exactly.
Yep.
And that's just one example, but that's one of the
it's a grand example. It's a grand example, though. It's a grand example. Yeah.
He's just delivering for the people, and the fact that he has to undergo this kind of mistreatment and unfair assessment, it is. I tell you, though, brother. I just don't have a language for it, man. It just. Black folk trying to do the best that we can and have to deal with all the double and triple standard. I think dear Sister Connie laid it out. The case is as weak as pre-sweep and Kool-Aid, and yet they trying to give him a certain kind of juridical version of the hemlock like they did Socrates. I mean, it's sick, man. It really is sick. But the good news is that Brother Mark is strong. The good news is that Avis is strong. The good news is that they come from a people who have had every kind of catastrophe thrown at them, and yet in the end we've come out enduring and persevering, and they will too, no matter what the circumstances. I just want them to know I'm with him until death. I take a bullet for the brother, so I'm with him. I'm with him through the Supreme Court, after Supreme Court, when there's no court.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Let me ask you this, Doc, and I've just made an executive decision that because this is breaking news here in Southern California with national reverberations. I'll get to the national reverberations in a second, but I promised you a guest on the back half of this hour. I've asked that guest to reschedule for another day. We're going to stay with this story for the rest of this hour because it is breaking news, and if Connie and Doc can stick with me for the rest of the hour, we'll do that. But let me just again, in case you've just tuned in, keep reminding you or sharing with you the breaking news of this hour. Here in Southern California, we've just had a political earthquake. The United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit has affirmed, the panel of 3 judges affirmed Mark Ridley-Thomas's convictions for 1 count of conspiracy and 1 count of bribery concerning programs receiving federal funds, and 5 counts of honest services, mail and wire fraud. All those obviously are violations of various codes, and these codes are all laid out in the ruling, these rulings are public, by the way. So if you Google it, you can find it for yourself. It's out now, so it's everywhere. You can read it for yourself. Connie, I got 90 seconds here now. Let me just ask you this, and you can stay fine. If not, I understand. But what say you here quickly about the storyline that has been written and will be written once again, that so often, too often, historically, we know that they come for our leaders, our black leaders, and they always seem to come for the best, those who are delivering the most. That narrative has already been out there, but I'm sure beyond today, there are going to be folk writing that they took down one of our best.
Yeah, they go for the best because they pose the biggest threat to the construct of inequality. And whatever your view of former supervisor Ridley-Thomas is, that is the backdrop for any time there's a prosecution of a sitting black judge or a sitting black elected official. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean that there aren't corrupt black officials, but the history shows that the selective prosecution, that double standard applies to elected officials as it does to folks who live in Jordan Downs housing project. And we've got the data, we've got the history to show it.
Again, there are many narratives, many storylines that are going to come out of this decision today. Not the least is the one that Connie and I were just talking about, the targeting oftentimes of high-profile, powerful black electeds for things that they would not prosecute anybody else for, as Connie laid out eloquently earlier in this conversation. But there is also the storyline here in Southern California that even when you look at the alleged corruption amongst politicians, they're always tend to target black and brown politicians. Kern Price, another LA City Council person, is under indictment right now. I'm not saying things that we don't know here in Southern California. But why are these persons always, why do they tend to be disproportionately, by a great margin, black and brown? So much want to talk about. I promised you also we would give you an update on the results of our town hall last Thursday. There is a next step. We're going to keep holding politicians accountable, trust and believe. These two things are not diametrically opposed. We can tell the truth and talk about this verdict and at the same time hold these other elected officials accountable, even more so now, because the people deserve to be represented earnestly and honestly. So much more to cover here when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
I'm Mike Island with BIN News Now on the Black Information Network. Former Vice President Kamala Harris thinks the U.S. needs more Supreme Court justices. She recently spoke to the National Urban League Conference in Nashville, Tennessee. As she put it, we need to revisit the point of expanding the court to 13. President Trump's Truth Social is now selling early access to his social media posts. The new data feed, called Truth API, is described by the company as a direct, licensed, real-time feed of the platform's most market-moving truths. Democratic Senators Elizabeth Warren and Adam Schiff want the plan investigated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says children should be vaccinated for measles. The Health and Human Services Secretary made the comment on CNN's State of the Union. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the free iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
Is this the title? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers believe they have added the final piece to winning a third straight World Series. An hour before the Major League Baseball trade deadline, the Dodgers made a deal with the Detroit Tigers to acquire right-handed pitcher Tarik Skubal, the best pitcher in baseball the last 2 years. Skubal won the Cy Young Award in 2025 and 2024. The Dodgers only had to give up 3 minor league prospects to get him. Alabama A&M will be the first HBCU football team to wear a corporate logo on their jersey. Alabama A&M, a member of the SWAC Conference, agreed to a $250,000 sponsorship deal with Omni 2 Max, a tech services firm based in San Diego. The deal was put together by Omni 2 Max business development manager Siobhan Kamek, an Alabama A&M alumnus. The logo patch will be on the jerseys for Alabama A&M season opener August 29th against Howard in the SWAC MEAC Challenge in Atlanta. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
We're not adults, so just be there and listen. I just want someone to yap to. And I just feel like I'll be fine if someone just hears me talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
You're doing a really good job. And I don't think I tell you that enough. And I know sometimes we get into it and
It's just hard on both of us. But, try to understand me more, and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at soundidouttogether.org. That's soundidouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, Dr. Cornel West, and Connie Rice. I have asked them both to stick around. Grateful that they have for the rest of this hour, and then we'll push on to our third and final hour. But in case, again, you have just tuned in, there is breaking news here in Southern California today. Mark Ridley-Thomas, known around the country, but has long served as a public elected official here in Southern California. And for those in Southern California, this notable black politician, black public servant, was caught up in a case that many of us thought was, as Dr. West said, weak as pre-sweetened Kool-Aid. And yet they brought charges against Mark Ridley-Thomas. He fought those charges, beat back most of them. It's important to remember, Connie and Dr. West, that there were far many more allegations brought against him. At first, there was, my recollection is there were 20-something. And they always, when black people are concerned, they go after our best, number one. And then they throw everything at you, everything in the kitchen sink to see what sticks. And then eventually half of that stuff falls away because either the judge doesn't allow it or they pull the plug on it and say, okay, we threw that out there, but we really ain't going to pursue that. And then they narrow it down to the ones they really want to go after. And then the case really begins in earnest, as Connie knows better than Dr. West and I do. But that's the way this played out. They threw everything at him. They whittled down the number of the counts they were really serious about, and then the party got started. Mark ended up losing that case. He appealed to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and again, in case you've just tuned in, the Ninth Circuit of Appeals has now rendered its decision today, after almost 2 years, not quite, affirming Mark Ridley-Thomas's convictions for one count of conspiracy, one count of bribery concerning programs receiving federal funds, and 5 counts of honest services, mail, and wire fraud. Interestingly, they tried to tie this to his son. And when I mentioned a moment ago that all those charges that fell to the wayside make it clear that they didn't get him on everything they tried to get him on. They tried to tie this case, they did in fact tie this case, Connie, to what he did for his son. But you note that none of the allegations of what he did with or for his son made it through. Those were the charges that got kicked out. He was not found guilty on those particular allegations. And so, again, I'm rambling through this as I'm reading this as quickly as I can, trying to see the details of their decision, but just trying to give you some backstory for those listening around the country who may not have followed this particular case. All that said, Connie Rice has established for us that it is not quite over. Mark Ridley-Thomas can appeal to the Supreme Court. He has a strong team. There is always the chance of a presidential pardon. And to that end, Dr. West and Connie, let me read. I see comments coming in. And by the way, this is breaking news on my local station here in Southern California. And I can assure you for the rest of this day and certainly tomorrow on all of our shows, at least the shows that cover politics, you are invited to call in and express yourself. My point of view is my point of view. Doc's is Doc's and Connie's is hers. And we unapologetically lean into our POVs, and as you should. I know there are those of you who see this differently than I see it, and so you have every bit of agency on the appropriate programs at the appropriate times to call in and express yourself, as I know you will, for the rest of this day and tomorrow. But I'm seeing comments coming through as we speak, and one of them says, this is what he gets. This is what MRT gets for serving as a Democrat. If he'd been a Republican, Trump likely would have pardoned him. Instead, Biden and his administration ignored him, all while pardoning his own son, Hunter, after Hunter's criminal convictions. Filthy Democrats. I see the read. There'll be a lot of people with opinions just like that. Joe Biden could have pardoned MRT. He did not. He could have pardoned our friend and brother Jesse Jackson Jr. He did not. There were others who had legitimate grievances for why they should have been pardoned. Joe Biden turned a blind eye to them, but not to his son. But we've seen, Dr. West, that Trump uses the pardon pen. What say you about any of that?
Well, I mean, we've got to keep in mind two things in trying to understand the high quality of my dear brother Mark, because he stands above the fray. He did not receive one penny. Sister Connie made the point, and it's so true. He didn't receive one penny at all. Crucial. Two, there were forces in the city of Los Angeles that were trying to crush my dear brother Mark Ridley-Thomas because they thought he was running for mayor. He had no interest in running for mayor. They tried to crush him. It's mediated by USC. Let's just tell the whole story.
That's right.
It's mediated by USC and different figures there at USC that are trying to make sure that Mark Ridley-Thomas does not gain access to the mayorship, because he would have won this before Sister Karen even thought about running for mayor. So that the political character of this thing has nothing to do with morality, nothing to do with legality, nothing to do with spirituality, but that's the history of black people in this country. Now, Sister Connie is absolutely right. We got some corrupt Negroes we can give the mainstream. Ain't no doubt about that, because we human beings like everybody else. But when they take our best and try to convince us and the world that they are corrupt, that's where the sickness sets in. That's where the pathology sets in, and we'll have nothing of it.
Yeah. Connie, some technical questions here. I'm glad to have you on. Connie Rice, brilliant civil rights attorney, obviously, and regularly contributed to this program. And she and Doc were back-to-back today. Connie was in hour one, Doc in hour two. I didn't know I'd have both of them together here, given this breaking news, but how fortunate are we to have both of their voices right about now. You mentioned earlier that it's not over. Mark Ridley-Thomas and his team could appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. What are the chances that he is allowed to stay out of prison during this particular appeal, like the judge let him do in this now prior appeal?
I don't know. This particular judge I have a lot of questions about. I didn't like the way the trial was run.
Connie, before you answer, my recollection is, I think I'm right about this. This has gone on so long that the judge in the case, the judge who oversaw the case of Mark Ridley-Thomas, has now basically retired. She's on senior status now. So that's how long it's taken. She's not even sitting in the same chair she sat in when this case was heard years ago now. I digress. Continue, Connie.
Yeah, I didn't like the way she weighed the evidence and what was allowed in and what wasn't allowed in. And her comments from the bench, I didn't feel good about this judge. So I kind of think that she'll probably send him straight in. It's a 3.5-year sentence, and I'm with Doc on he'll do that, no problem at all, and probably change the prison while he's in there. So I'm not worried about that. They will get through this. But what I am worried about is a standard set so low. When in Washington you see the White House being turned into a RICO operation, and a president who has been given impunity and immunity for criminal acts. You remember they argued before the Supreme Court when Trump was arguing for his ability to take a wrecking ball to the entire federal bureaucracy and rule of law and DOJ. And one of the arguments they made at the Supreme Court was that one of the justices, the D.C. District Court judge asked, so Mr. Trump can, she didn't use Mr. Trump, she said the president could kill his opponent and claim that his opponent was a threat to national security and therefore he had the right to kill him without trial or anything? And his lawyer argued yes.
Yeah.
So you've got that level of argument coming from the feds, and a standard from the Supreme Court that actually immunizes Trump and future presidents from criminal acts, intentional criminal acts. Mark Ridley-Thomas's case, I can't even find the intent or the criminal act.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the thing that really shows, when I listened to the appeal, the appellate argument, the prosecutors, the U.S. Attorney's Office, told the court, the Court of Appeals, well, if you don't like what we convicted him on, here's an alternative theory. That's always a sign that they know they have thin gruel, that they convicted him on a very thin premise. And you can get a jury to go a number of ways. I remember the interviews of the jury members, and they were really ambivalent, because these cases are they're kind of conceptual. These notions of public corruption and where the line is and what was given for what. There was confusion in the jury, too. So bottom line, weak case. I thought it was a strong appeal. The standard has gotten even better for white-collar crime and political corruption cases. I'm not happy about that in general, but I thought that he would have benefited from that. And I haven't seen the full opinion, so I've got to dig into that to see whether they actually incorporated it. The Supreme Court, he's not going to get a pardon because he doesn't have $10 million to pay for one. But he could appeal to the United States Supreme Court on the grounds that the standard, first of all, this was such a weak case that it didn't even merit conviction under the old standard.
Mm-hmm.
And under the new standard that lowers the threshold for the accused and raises it for the prosecution, you've got to show a level of intent and knowledge that that the corrupt act that you're accused of, you knew you were doing for your benefit. And I just think this case fails that standard completely.
Yeah.
In other words, he should have won this appeal.
Yeah. That was my thinking. That was Connie's thinking. That was Dr. West's thinking, that he was, in fact, going to win this appeal. Again, in case you were just tuning in, we are talking about the appellate court affirming, specifically the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has affirmed the convictions for one count of conspiracy, one count of bribery concerning programs receiving federal funds in violation, and 5 counts of honest services, mail and wire fraud against Mark Ridley-Thomas. Again, the decision came in a couple hours ago now, and we got to it as quickly as we had a chance to sort of look at it and read it and jump on the air with it. It just so happened to be that we got to it at the top of the second hour when Dr. Cornel West is here, and Dr. West was here in L.A., went to the trial any number of days. I went to the trial. So we were in the courtroom watching it. Here in L.A., we had a reporter cover this trial for KBLA every day. We had somebody in the courtroom every single day covering this case for our audience because we knew the interest that our audience would have. When we come forward, I want to just talk about some of the opinions that black people are going to have about this decision today and the days ahead, and get Connie and Dr. West to respond to the various opinions that I know are going to happen and be heard in our community. We are not a monolith, nor do we need to be. But I want to just check their temperature against some of the commentary I know we're going to hear in the days to come. You're listening to Connie Rice, Cornel West, and Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
While Gavin was telling the story about the mural at LAX, I kid you not, Gavin, somebody just texted me a photo of it. See, this is unacceptable. That inside of LAX, they have a mural. These gorgeous, beautiful pictures of Destination Crenshaw. It don't look nothing like this. We don't know when they're going to restart or when they're going to finish, but they're marketing and promoting this inside of LAX. It's not right, y'all. It's just not right. You can't exploit us in that way, right? Get the project done, then you can brag about it. But can we finish it first?
Keeping them in check. We're KBLA, Talk 1580.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with a Capital One Saver card, so Let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27, and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
The KBLA 1580 app puts the realest conversations right in your pocket. Stream live wherever you are in the world. No static. No searching the dial. A crystal clear connection 24/7. Exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it. So the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Let me just say this right quick. Doc and I were going to spend more time talking about this in this hour had this breaking news not come through. But we have just announced on all of our platforms here on our local station, KBLA, that the next step in our campaign around Destination Crenshaw, as we call it, Procrastination Crenshaw, given that standing room only town hall where we heard the voices of everyday people in this community last Thursday night talk about the ways in which this economic violence of this year's delayed project has visited each and every one of our businesses and churches and institutions. We had an amazing, again, town hall. All the local media, every major network covered it. You saw it. You've heard about it. You hear people talking about it. So the next step in that campaign will be announced on Wednesday. We're not done yet. We're just getting started. So on Wednesday, stay tuned to KBLA and all of our socials for the big announcement about the next step in this campaign to hold Marquise Harris Dawson, the city council, and others accountable to this black community. That's all I'll say about it right now, given the time that I don't have to delve into it more deeply, but we'll make a big announcement on Wednesday about the next step in our campaign of accountability with regard to Procrastination Crenshaw. Watching my time here, Dr. West and Connie, Doc, I start with you. We believe, and I know this to be the case, that the legacy of Mark Ridley-Thomas is cemented. His legacy is cemented. I think of the number of times that the LA Times, no less, and others have written articles trying to understand why he is still so regarded, why he is still so loved, why he is still so revered. It's simple. Look at the track record of what he delivered. Look at what he delivered. His legacy is cemented, no question in my mind about that, and yet there will be some in our community who have agency to express themselves as they will, who will say he got what he deserved. It's worse when black people do this to other black people. Dr. West, that you and I were wrong to defend him and to that kind of critique. You say what?
I say that I know Mark Ridley-Thomas from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet, that he is a person of unbelievable, unvarnished integrity. There's just no doubt about that. And that he's part of the legacy of those who engage in trying to serve people, especially black people who have to pay major price and cost and bear burden, but he continues to bounce back. He continues to work on the building. He was there with us this past weekend.
That's right.
He's right there at the meeting fighting for black folk, even though these folk are coming at him unfairly and unjustly. So others can say all that they want. People have a right to be wrong. They can believe that the earth is flat, you know what I mean? But it's not. There's certain things called truth. There's certain things called justice. There have been black politicians who were corrupt. Mark Ridley-Thomas was never a corrupt politician. History will bear that out, and we shall forever be with him and by his side as he goes through anything and continues to bear witness and continues to be true to the God who called him, and to Sylvia, his magnificent grandmother who loves him, and to Brother Tavis and Brother Cornel and others, and Clifton and Anahita and others who love him to death.
We'll give Connie Rice the last word when we come forward. We'll bring this thing full circle and just remind you again of what these convictions were that have now been affirmed by the appellate court, and get Connie just once again to give us a blueprint for what the possibilities are in the days ahead. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say, when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. The midterm election campaign season is here now. The 2028 presidential election is right around the corner. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country in advanced civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. It's all in for 2026 and 2028. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is dedicated to inspiring youth and resilience through storytelling, arts, filmmaking, and enrichment programs for youth and families in under-resourced communities and system-impacted individuals. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit providing free and low-cost arts programs to youth and families from under-resourced communities, both system-impacted youth and those affected by the incarceration of a loved one. 1 in 43 children in America have a parent incarcerated. 70% of those children are expected to end up in prison. Through filmmaking, animation, theater, and writing, they help young people express themselves, build confidence, and imagine new possibilities. Beyond the arts, they offer financial literacy workshops, emergency support, and scholarships. Because thriving takes more than talent, it takes access. To learn more about the impact of Michael Daughters Foundation and how you can be a part of the movement, please visit their website, michaelsdaughterfoundation.com. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
You are indeed. I am grateful to Connie Rice and Dr. Cornel West for spending this hour with me as we tried to navigate as best we could this breaking news of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals affirming the convictions of Mark Ridley-Thomas, former L.A. County supervisor here in our neck of the woods. Again, 34 years of uninterrupted service as an elected official for a variety of offices. And I hope and pray this is not the way this story ends. It may not be the last chapter. And to that point, with 2 minutes to go, Connie, just remind us again of what his options are. And if you're on his legal team right about now, what are they strategizing?
I think first you're going to do an en banc appeal asking the entire Ninth Circuit to rehear. So a petition for rehearing before the Ninth Circuit. If that fails, then you go on to the Supreme Court. In the meantime, he may be heading to jail. I wish him fortitude and focus if that's the case. But you got and on the general public's reaction, Tavis and Doc, Mark, as a supervisor, was the most powerful locally elected official in the country. Mm-hmm. There's no other local position in local elected positions, political positions in the country that's more powerful than the L.A. County supervisor. Mm-hmm. And to get to that level of political skill and expertise, you make a lot of enemies. And there are a lot of people who love Mark. There are a lot of people who are cheering this. So I get it on both sides. And as someone who has both been his ally, and I also sued him. I sued them all. Okay. Sued Mayor Bradley too. Loved him. Because they're not doing the right thing for the bus riders, or they're hurting poor people. So I will sue you. And so I've been on both sides. I've been both an ally and an opponent, and I do. But no matter what that discussion is, I wish him Godspeed. And he and Avis will get through this. But to me, very weak case. He should not have been put in this position. I don't mind people going to jail for stuff that hurts the public.
Yeah.
But this is not the case here.
Well, again, this is a sad day for many of us, again, who love and respect Mark Ridley-Thomas. And this decision does nothing to change that, Doc, does it? Doesn't change our love and respect for the brother.
Oh, you ain't lying. In fact, it deepens the love, though, man. But when you have evil triumphant at the moment, but right and love and justice defeated at the moment, you know that the latter's going to bounce back, my brother.
Yeah.
And that's true with Brother Mark. That's true with Brother Mark. How many times has he inspired us? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Over the years, and all those wonderful dinners and gatherings and empowerment conferences and so forth.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody liked the brother in terms of quality of public service to everyday people.
No question about that. Again, locally here in Southern California, you have our number. 1-800-920-1580, 1-800-920. You know the number. And we invite you to call this station in the hours and days ahead to express yourself as you will about this breaking news story here in Southern California. Dr. Cornel West, thank you. Connie Rice, thank you. Love you both. Appreciate your insights in this hour. Speaking of the Supreme Court, in our next and final hour today, that's where we're going, to the U.S. Supreme Court. Talk about a few things there. You're listening, and I'm glad about it, to Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Island with BIN News Now on the Black Information Network. Former Vice President Kamala Harris thinks the U.S. needs more Supreme Court justices. She recently spoke to the National Urban League Conference in Nashville, Tennessee. As she put it, we need to revisit the point of expanding the court to 13. President Trump's Truth Social is now selling early access to his social media posts. The new data feed, called Truth API, is described by the company as a direct, licensed, real-time feed of the platform's most market-moving truths. Democratic Senators Elizabeth Warren and Adam Schiff want the plan investigated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says children should be vaccinated for measles. The Health and Human Services Secretary made the comment on CNN's State of the Union. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the free iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers believe they have added the final piece to winning a third straight World Series. An hour before the Major League Baseball trade deadline, the Dodgers made a deal with the Detroit Tigers to acquire right-handed pitcher Tarik Skubal, the best pitcher in baseball the last 2 years. Skubal won the Cy Young Award in 2025 and 2024. The Dodgers only had to give up 3 minor league prospects to get him. Alabama A&M will be the first HBCU football team to wear a corporate logo on their jersey. Alabama A&M, a member of the SWAC Conference, agreed to a $250,000 sponsorship deal with Omni 2 Max, a tech services firm based in San Diego. The deal was put together by Omni 2 Max business development manager Siobhan Kamek, an Alabama A&M alumnus. The logo patch will be on the jerseys for Alabama A&M season opener August 29th against Howard in the SWAC MEAC Challenge in Atlanta. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580, your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm glad you're with us in this third and final hour of our program. It's been a fascinating show today, and we got broadsided, as it were, at the top of the second hour. Dr. Cornel West and I had intended to go in one particular direction, and we got redirected given this decision that was just rendered just now, 3 hours ago, a couple hours ago now, by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. I'll repeat it once again and just move forward here. If you are in the Southern California area, then you know the name Mark Ridley-Thomas rather well. Dr. Mark Ridley-Thomas, long-serving public servant, 30-plus years of uninterrupted elected service in a variety of offices, including State Assembly, City Council, L.A. County Supervisor. We all know the case that was brought against him years ago now. That's how long this thing has gone on. He lost the case initially, appealed to the Ninth Circuit, and after almost 2 years, long time waiting, and many of us thought, again, that long wait meant that this verdict might be more in his favor. It is not. The panel has affirmed, three-judge panel on the Ninth Circuit has affirmed Mark Ridley-Thomas's convictions for 1 count of conspiracy, 1 count of bribery concerning programs receiving federal funds, and 5 counts of honest services, mail, and wire fraud. The appellate court has affirmed the court's decision in the case of Mark Ridley-Thomas. Connie Rice was just here moments ago and sort of laid out what the options are, what the path forward might look like for Dr. Mark Ridley-Thomas. They include, in no particular order, appealing to the entirety of the Ninth Circuit. This is a 3-judge panel that made this decision. So the first step may very well be, I have not spoken to MRT as yet. I've been on the air live, obviously, but he's a friend and brother beloved. I suspect I'll talk to him and see him before this day is over. But I'm not a member of his legal team, obviously. But my sense is, and Connie's sense is, that the first step may be to appeal to the entire Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, asking them to reconsider this decision made by 3 of their members on this panel, number 1. Number 2, there is always, if they are denied that, an opportunity to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. In the years that this case has been, bandied about, we've been waiting for a final decision on this. There have been some new laws and some new rulings, and so the standard has been sort of lowered, as it were, in cases like these. So there is a way in which MRT's Mark Ridley-Thomas's legal team could appeal to the Supreme Court for some relief in this regard if they are rejected by the entirety of the Ninth Circuit to hear their case. So there's an appeal to the Ninth Circuit writ large. There is an appeal to the Supreme Court. Talking about options here now. As I said earlier, Donald Trump, president, can pardon anybody. That possibility always exists. You heard Connie Rice say earlier in direct answer to my question about whether or not this time around they will allow MRT to stay out of prison while he appeals. He was granted that in this particular case. Again, for the last couple of years, we've been waiting on this verdict from the Ninth Circuit panel. He was allowed to stay out of prison on appeal. We don't know now whether or not he'll be remanded immediately or whether or not they'll allow him to stay out while he appeals further. We have no idea at this hour, but that is a possibility as well. He might be remanded rather immediately. I pray not, but we shall see. But there you have it, in case you are just tuning in this final hour and have missed the entirety of the second hour, wherein Connie Rice and Dr. Cornel West and I had a chance to sort of delve into this. Again, for those listening here in L.A., this program is syndicated. We heard it in markets all across the country, but for those in Southern California, stay tuned to this station locally for updates. And certainly, you have the phone number, 1-800-920-1580 here in Southern California, to call this station on any of our programs and express yourself. Your point of view might not align with mine. I'm okay with that. You have agency to express yourself. Black people are not a monolith, and this station welcomes all of your views in the days ahead as there'll be more, of course, about this particular rendering. But for now, we know, again, that the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has affirmed the convictions against Mark Ridley-Thomas. Now, all that said, when we come forward, we'll go to Kim Wehle, a constitutional law professor, former assistant U.S. attorney. Speaking of U.S. attorneys, he's a former U.S. assistant attorney, to talk about this incoherent theory of presidential power that's been embraced by the Supreme Court. Some other legal issues we'll get to as well. So we'll talk the law for the rest of this hour when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This show was built for you, for the community, for the culture, for everyone who wants more than headlines, for everyone who wants meaning. Tavis Smiley has always believed that public media can change lives. And every single day, that's what he comes to work to do. You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Your voice, your issues, your show.
The KBLA 1580 app puts the realest conversations right in your pocket. Stream live wherever you are in the world. No static. No searching the dial. A crystal clear connection 24/7, exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it. So the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having.
You served behind the desk.
You served in combat.
You did 4 years and got out.
You were drafted.
You gave 20 years.
You gave exactly what your country needed.
And so did you.
When you raised your hand and swore an oath to your country, when you put your name on a dotted line, you became part of only 1% of Americans who did the same. You are a veteran.
You are a veteran.
You are a veteran. Because no matter when, where, or how you served, you made a sacrifice for your country, and you deserve support.
If you're struggling with life after service, don't wait. Reach out.
Reach out to a loved one, to a fellow veteran, to VA.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
Literally right in front of our doorsteps the last 2 to 3 years, we have been interrupted by this nightmare of a project called Destination Crenshaw. The desire was partnership at the onset, but we've seen broken promise after broken promise. We've seen our parishioners impacted. We've seen our peers and our local neighbors impacted directly by this. We've seen the crippling of the Crenshaw economy as a result of this project starting and then ultimately walking away. And we're not going to just lay down. We're not going to just, amen, pretend like nothing's happening on our doorsteps. And tonight I want to get out of the way because I want to hear from you. I can stand there as a pastor and tell you how many times we've been interrupted from our flow of worship, how it's impacted our ability to provide services to our community, how the blight and how the construction derailment has hindered our ability to amply run our food pantry programs, to offer summer camp programs for our young people, how the construction impacts just our ability to be able to come to church in part. I can go on about how it's interrupted just our day-to-day operations and being able to accommodate the needs of our community.
Making sure they stick to the truth. We're KBLA, Talk 1580.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, constitutional law professor, former assistant U.S. attorney Kim Wehle. Wehle is our guest today, and I'm glad to have her on. She's also a Substack writer, as are many people these days. Her Substack is called The Little Law School. That is her Substack, The Little Law School, and we're going to step inside the Little Law School right now. Let her teach us for the next 45 minutes. Kim, good to have you on. How are you today?
I'm great, Tavis. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks for your patience. We had some breaking news here today, and so I had to get that addressed. But now I've got you for the rest of the hour, and I'm glad to have you. I saw your piece, and this is the primary reason we invited you on the program. I saw your piece for The Hill, as I recall, about the fact that SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, has embraced what you term an incoherent theory of presidential power. We've got some time. Let's start there. Unpack it for me, and I'll jump in as necessary.
Well, thanks for giving me the opportunity to unpack it, because this is so important for people to understand, and not everyone has the privilege of going to an American law school. So let me start with basics, right? The president, under Article 2 of the Constitution, is basically the job description for presidents, and it says that he gets to appoint executive branch officials. It doesn't say anything about removing or firing them. And so the Supreme Court has basically held back in 1935 that when Congress creates agencies, every federal agency is created by an act of Congress, that Congress can insulate agencies from political influence by putting what are known as for-cause provisions in place. That is, that the president can't just fire heads of certain agencies for any reason to pack them with, political loyalists. That sometimes, like, if it's a nuclear regulatory commission, if you're talking about storing plutonium, you might really want the scientists in charge. That's the theory. And because there's no removal in the Constitution, the court said that essentially Congress can tinker with the ability to fire people. Well, you fast forward to 2026, and the court reversed that decision from 1935 and said, even though removal's not in the Constitution, we hold that presidents have the power to fire anybody they want for any reason, that Congress cannot limit that, even when Congress is the one who created the agency to begin with. And so the reason I said it's an incoherent theory is because in the very same day, when the Supreme Court said for one of the commissioners of the Federal Trade Commission that, listen, he can fire her for any reason, it said, well, not so much when it comes to the Federal Reserve Board. There was a member of the Federal Reserve Board, which of course manages monetary policy that has global implications. And the court said, no, for that one, Congress can put limitations on firing that person. And one thing about constitutional law, Tavis, is there are lots of ways of reading the Constitution, but it seems particularly for a court that claims to be conservative and, really seizing on clear rules for interpreting the Constitution, that's not a consistent interpretation. Like, oh, it's in the Constitution, it's mandatory for everybody, except when it comes to monetary policy. For that, we'll let Congress tweak the ability to fire people. And that, as I've argued many places, that's putting too much power in the justices to kind of tinker with how the government works based on not legal theory, but what it looks like is just their personal preference. And the problem with that is that they're not elected. They're not democratically accountable. And so it really undermines this whole idea of a constitution and a democracy by the people, we the people.
Yep. Let me just ask you point blank. I've been wrestling with this for years now. I've been at this for a while. And over the course of my broadcast career, I have come to have a particular point of view about this myself. But since you used the phrase a moment ago, let me give you a chance to respond and unpack it as you will. Here's the question, point blank. Does the U.S. Supreme Court have too much power? Does it have too much power? It is the most powerful Supreme Court of any in the world that I'm aware of. And again, you're a constitutional scholar. I am not. But I read a lot and I talk to everybody, and I've been at this for a long time, and I've traveled the world, more importantly. And I do not know of a Supreme Court in any country that has more power than our court. And if I'm wrong about that, feel free to disabuse me of that notion. But does this court have too much power?
It does, and it's actually a threat to democracy. I mean, we talk a lot about what's happening in the White House, but there's an equal, if not greater, threat in the United States Supreme Court. And why? Look at what they've done to the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Just this term, the majority effectively deactivated that statute from 1965. Their job is to respect the other branches of government. And there's a lot of discussion about the midterms, right? People want to see some change. If you've got a Supreme Court that will manufacture constitutional reasons to just kill acts of Congress that were enacted by both houses, signed into law by president, all those people are responsible to voters at the ballot box. If they can come in and say, nope, we're going to basically make up a reason under the Constitution to kill that statute, it's kind of a checkmate on the election process. I mean, we could get a different configuration in the United States Congress, but if they're going to pass legislation and these people who are not elected, they can't be fired at the ballot box, are going to just say, no, you know what, we think it's not constitutional, and use theories like I just explained that aren't even intellectually coherent, that don't make sense, to a logical sense, then to me, that's an anti-democratic institution. And, people have said, well, this has always been the case. Not so. This court, and I could go on, for more than 1 hour, Tavis, on this. This court is doing things that are unprecedented when it comes to messing around with the authority of the other branches of government. So they've been kind of taking a hatchet at Congress's power, and at the same time, pumping up and enhancing the belt and suspenders of the power of the presidency, most prominently in 2024 by basically giving the president the green light to commit crimes using the power of the presidency. That's stunning to people in Europe. And I spent 4.5 months on a Fulbright scholarship last spring in the Netherlands and talked to a lot of scholars and experts on that side. And they're kind of shocked with the kind of power that the Supreme Court of the United States has, because they don't have anything like that.
Well, you should know. If I had another hour, I'd give it to you. I so respect your opinion, but I don't. So we'll work with the 40 minutes I have left in this hour. To your point earlier about the Supreme Court needing to, and by law being demanded and required to respect the two other branches of government, they don't do that anymore. You talked about legal theory, and they've moved, to my mind. Again, I'm not a Supreme Court justice. I'm not a constitutional law professor, but I'm a Supreme Court watcher, and I discuss these things all the time on this program. It seems to me with many of the rulings that they have rendered, certainly many of the rulings on the stuff that Trump puts in front of them every other day, it seems, they've moved from legal theory to actually writing the law. That is not their job. We all recall from our government classes in high school that the executive branch, signs the law. The legislative branch passes the law. They write the law, rather. The legislative branch writes it. Executive signs it. Supreme Court interprets it. They've moved beyond, to my mind, simply interpreting the law. They're not just doing legal theory. With their rulings, they are, in fact, writing law. Am I right about that? You disagree with me on that?
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the Voting Rights Act. I mean, it's been in place for, 60 plus years. Congress didn't see fit to repeal it. And the court has basically been writing provisions into that statute that don't exist, that basically is taking it off of the law books. But it's not even just statutory law, it's constitutional law as well, right? I mean, if you think of law as a hierarchy, at the very tippity top is the Constitution. The Constitution creates the Supreme Court. It is beholden to the Constitution. The justices take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. They don't get to not apply it or ignore it, right? You mentioned the Trump-friendly rulings in 2025. There are over 20 of these emergency rulings for Trump. What's an emergency ruling? It's like somebody on death row historically. I'm going to be executed tomorrow. Please stop my execution so that I can have my claim that my conviction was wrong heard by a court. If I don't get this emergency ruling today, I will be dead. Right. So what has Trump gone? He said basically, my emergency is I have to comply with the Constitution. So the court's been giving them emergency relief to basically ignore the Constitution, sending people to South Sudan without due process where they could be tortured or killed. That's suspending the due process clause on an emergency petition. Suspending the Fourth Amendment, a ban on seizures of people in connection with ICE arrests in Los Angeles, saying essentially that can be done. Racial profiling, those are my words, are okay because there's an emergency for Donald Trump to start ramping up immigration law. And this is just, it's undermines the very idea that we're not a monarchy where power starts from the top and there are winners and losers based on who you know, how much money you have, what you look like, what your racial background is, that it's the triangle's upside down, Tavis.
Yeah.
We, the people, are in charge, and they're supposed to follow what we decide at the ballot box, including ratification of the Constitution.
Let me ask you this question. Hopefully I can make this make sense to you. As we have watched the Supreme Court turbocharge presidential power, that's the point you made earlier, but they're giving him all the power that he wants. In the process, they are at the same time surrendering some of their own. And as you and I both know, as this brilliant audience knows, power concedes nothing without a demand. As Frederick Douglass said, it never has and it never will. Power just doesn't concede its authority. So what am I missing about the decisions they have made and continue to make that, again, turbocharge his power, but in the process, they're essentially surrendering some of theirs and obviously completely obliterating the power of the other branch of government, the legislative branch? Does that make sense as a question?
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, I think it's a consolidation of power behind one political party and ideology.
Okay, I get that.
So I mean, you know, they reversed also, not this term, but recently, a longstanding case, which people refer to as the Chevron doctrine, right? And that case was about when agencies do stuff, you know, any agency, department of whatever, regulates. And experts are in these agencies, scientists, economists, you know, public servants who work really hard and are well educated to serve the public interest. If they're going to do something, they basically get the benefit of the doubt. That was long-standing law for many, many decades. The Supreme Court reversed that and said, you know what? No, actually, we get to decide now. So as much as in some of these rulings, maybe they're ceding power to the presidency, and there's nuance here, and I could go on. They're also taking power for themselves. So they're empowering the president of the United States, that office, but they're disempowering federal workers, you know, members of agencies that aren't they're not politicians, they're not appointed, they're not Senate confirmed. These are just regular folks that are, you know, doing their best job. They are getting less power. So, you know, it's this delicate dance of consolidation of power behind a political party, really, which is now the far right. I think it used to be called, I guess, the Republican Party, technically, but it's no longer the Lincoln Republican Party. But that's what it is. It's, you know, the whole idea behind the framing of the Constitution, No More Kings, was that if all the power goes in one place, it'll get abused. Madison said, if men were angels, we wouldn't need government. We need ambition to counteract ambition. There have to be checks and balances. This court has basically lifted all the checks and balances of the presidency, and they're kind of on that team. And so I think their power is protected because it's consolidated behind one, you know, political party that is, you know, swept the nation. And because constitutional law is, I appreciate this conversation, because it's kind of complex and it requires some, explanation, I think a lot of Americans don't really know what's going on. Yeah. And that's why, frankly, I wrote my first book called How to Read the Constitution and Why, when Donald Trump first took office, as kind of a roadmap to empower people to get on the Constitution bike and ride it themselves, where they can answer these questions for themselves and not rely on what they get on social media or coming out of the mouths of politicians or even, frankly, the Supreme Court. Yep. In some instances.
Yeah. A couple of things I want to get to Kim, Kim to respond to when we come forward here. In no particular order, GOP states, these red states, have joined the Department of Justice in asking the Supreme Court to let Trump block some mail ballots. That mail ballot issue has not been quite put to bed. Yes, there was a ruling before they left for summer recess that did not give Trump what he actually asked for, but he hasn't given up on this. We played a clip weeks ago of Steve Miller saying, oh, no, we ain't done with this. We're going to come back to this one. And indeed, they have come back to it, the issue of mail ballots. And for me, for many of you listening, this ain't nothing but another attempt at voter suppression on top of the gutting of the Voting Rights Act. But there are a number of GOP states now that have joined the DOJ, Department of Justice, in asking the Supreme Court to let Donald Trump block some mail ballots. We'll let Kim respond to that. And Kamala Harris spoke, former Vice President, spoke at the National Urban League and suggested that it's now time to expand the court to 13 members, given that we have 13 districts. That was her rationale. We'll play the clip for you, let you hear Kamala in her own words, and jump from there. You're listening to Kim Wehle on Tavis Smiley.
In a world full of noise, one voice cuts through. Tavis Smiley has never backed down from the hard questions, never shied away from speaking truth to power and to the powerless, and he's not about to start now. This is the show people talk about, the one your coworkers quote, the one that gets under your skin in the best way. Tavis Smiley, nationally syndicated, unapologetically progressive, unapologetically real.
I'm Mike Island with BIN News Now on the Black Information Network. Former Vice President Kamala Harris thinks the U.S. needs more Supreme Court justices. She recently spoke to the National Urban League Conference in Nashville, Tennessee. As she put it, we need to revisit the point of expanding the court to 13. President Trump's Truth Social is now selling early access to his social media posts. The new data feed, called Truth API, is described by the company as a direct, licensed, real-time feed of the platform's most market-moving truths. Democratic Senators Elizabeth Warren and Adam Schiff want the plan investigated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says children should be vaccinated for measles. The Health and Human Services Secretary made the comment on CNN's State of the Union. Get BIN News now, on demand, 24/7 on the free iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers believe they have added the final piece to winning a third straight World Series. An hour before the Major League Baseball trade deadline, the Dodgers made a deal with the Detroit Tigers to acquire right-handed pitcher Tarik Skubal, the best pitcher in baseball the last 2 years. Skubal won the Cy Young Award in 2025 and 2024. The Dodgers only had to give up 3 minor league prospects to get him. Alabama A&M will be the first HBCU football team to wear a corporate logo on their jersey. Alabama A&M, a member of the SWAC Conference, agreed to a $250,000 sponsorship deal with Omni2 Max, a tech services firm based in San Diego. The deal was put together by Omni2 Max business development manager Siobhan Kamek, an Alabama A&M alumnus. The logo patch will be on the jerseys for Alabama A&M season opener August 29th against Howard in the SWAC MEAC Challenge in Atlanta. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Number 14. That's where Talkers Magazine ranked Tavis Smiley on their Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important talk radio hosts in America. Join Tavis weekdays, 9 a.m. to noon or 9 p.m. to midnight. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
What's good, KBLA delegation? I am Miles Lowe, and I'm excited to be joining the weekend lineup right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Join me every Saturday at 12 noon for the Do Better Show, where we get into the world of tech, AI, the creator economy, navigating your mental health through it all, and have conversations with founders to find out how real people are making real money right now. It's not a course, not a subscription. Classes in session every weekend, live on the air. So if you knew better, you do better, right? So let's make a better you. The Do Better Show every Saturday, 12 noon, and replaying again at 7 p.m. right here on Unapologetically Progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We got a lot to talk.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
We're not adults, so just be there and listen. I just want someone to yap to. And I just feel like I'll be fine if someone just hears me talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
You're doing a really good job. And I don't think I tell you that enough. And I know sometimes we get into it and it's just hard on both of us. But try to understand me more and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with constitutional law professor, former assistant U.S. attorney herself, best-selling author Kim Wehle. Also has a Substack newsletter called The Little Law School. And so I feel like we are inside the Little Law School right now with Kim Wehle breaking all things down for us vis-a-vis the U.S. Supreme Court. Speaking of which, the National Urban League just wrapped its annual conference, if I can say it. They had their annual conference a few days ago. And they invited a number of speakers who are potential Democratic candidates for president. It's a long list, right? Very long list. A number of them did, in fact, show up at the National Urban League Conference, including one, Kamala Harris, of course, former vice president. And here is what she had to say. I'll give you my commentary about it on the backside. I want to hear what Kim has to say about it. But here's what Kamala Harris had to say about the Supreme Court at the National Urban League.
They are ruthless. We need to be ruthless, too. And by that, I do not mean cruel. That is not our nature. By that, I do not mean breaking the law. That is not what we do. But I do mean we must be uncompromising. And we must allow for a real conversation about revisiting certain things. For example, and I know this is going to be controversial coming from me in particular, we need to revisit the Electoral College. We need to revisit the point of expanding the court to 13 justices like we have 13 district courts.
So, Kim Wehle, you see the way she has tethered her argument to why there ought to be 13 Supreme Court justices, given that we have 13 districts. I sort of chuckled when I heard that clip of Kamala the first time when she gave that speech a couple of days ago. Michelle Obama famously said, when they go low, we go high. Kamala says they ruthless, so we gonna be more ruthless. So the narrative is shifting on how we engage the enemy in this regard. I digress on that for now. But I've asked many persons on this program heretofore, Kim Wehle, many law experts, constitutional law professors, and others, what they make of this, I think, growing movement. I say growing because I think it's growing. We shall see in the coming weeks, months, and years. But there are a lot of people looking for a Democratic candidate this time who will be very serious about addressing this issue. Biden punted the opportunity. Obama punted the opportunity. But here comes Kamala Harris, sort of first out at this level, saying we need 13. We'll see if the other Democrats line up and whether or not this becomes a defining issue of this campaign, this race for the White House. I said earlier, Kim, on today's program, I'll shut up. I said earlier on today's program that the timing of this is really interesting because if you ever want to whip the right into a frenzy, if you really want to motivate them, if you want to animate them, if you want to organize them, start talking about this issue now before you've taken back the House and the Senate, and watch how animated they get between now and November, and how much more animated they're going to be if Democrats do win back the House and Senate for the presidential race if the Supreme Court is a Democratic target. I'm not suggesting that's wrong. I'm just suggesting, as you already know, you're going to mobilize the right around this issue like no other, because this has been their pet project for decades now. I digress. The mic is yours, Kim Wehle.
Yeah, and they won that battle, right? I mean, I'm glad she didn't use the language of packing the Supreme Court. I think it's about unpacking the Supreme Court. If you recall, Merrick Garland was Barack Obama's pick. He's a moderate candidate.
Yep.
There's nothing in the Constitution about Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader, stealing a president's Supreme Court choice, but he basically stalled that nomination and made it not happen, and then pushed through Amy Coney Barrett days before an election. I assume Vice President Harris is referring to the appellate courts. There's actually 13 courts of appeal, federal courts of appeal, and one justice for each. I guess that's a roundup number, but she's absolutely correct. There needs to be some reform. The Constitution is meant to be amended. It was amended 27 times since the founding of the Republic. It's a difficult process. It's not supposed to be sort of changed on a whim, but that's what this court is doing. The court is essentially amending the Constitution with these opinions pretending to interpret by manufacturing parts of the Constitution that don't exist. So there does need to be some reining in on the court. Now, adding justices would only require the United States Congress. I mean, they'd have to get over the filibuster. It does not require actually amending the Constitution. So this seems to be, a feasible prospect. And I would, to your point, I think around abortion rights, that is galvanizes the right around the court. But if the Democrats can point out what Donald Trump's power has done to everyone in this country, in terms of inflation, unnecessary wars, people being shot in the streets for engaging in protests against ICE, rising costs of gas and food, Medicaid care being cut, Head Start now is being cut. I mean, this administration is hurting regular people, and that is not a red or a blue issue.
Yep. You mentioned that expanding the court to 13 members is perhaps the most feasible of all the suggestions that have been rendered, and there are many, because it only requires an act of Congress, not 2/3 of the states, as it were, to sort of ratify it. But I'm seizing on that word feasible. Feasible is one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is the Democrats, if they had the stomach to push back on the filibuster, you and I both know the John Lewis Voting Rights Act would be law. And so would the issue of police accountability be law. There are a couple of major issues that this audience certainly cares about: voting rights and police accountability, that would be on the books right now if the Democrats and if Joe Biden had a stomach to really deal with carve-outs more aggressively, or just, dealing head on with this issue of the filibuster. So there are two F words here. One is filibuster, the other is feasible, and I'm not sure those two things connect.
Well, I mean, there's something else that Congress can do, which is basically limit the kinds of cases the Supreme Court could have. I mean, it has control over its jurisdiction. It could basically say, we're going to give questions of constitutional law to a panel of other federal judges that are people from across the country. That would be not prohibited under the Constitution. Just let them handle the statutory cases. I mean, the Democrats have been just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic while the ship of the Constitution and democracy has gone down. Mm-hmm. And, sort of using the old levers, institutional levers that got us here to try to fix it is just, to me, not a really a winning strategy. I mean, I'm all for acting within the boundaries, of course, of the rule of law, which this administration does not do, and the Supreme Court and the majority in Congress allow this administration to just ignore the law and ignore the Constitution. But we have to think outside the box and not do business as usual with the hopes that it's just going to get better with the next election. That is, I think, one of the problems that got us where we are. Yeah. Well,
here's a question I want to pose for Kim Wehle. I'll let her respond to it when we come forward. Let me see if I can just get it out now. Give her a chance to think about it, although she doesn't need that. She could do it on the spot if she needed to. But it's fascinating for me that the Supreme Court, and don't laugh, they are supposed to be nonpartisan. They're not supposed to be political. and yet to even have a conversation about expanding the court to 13 or any other number would, on demand, be expressly and overtly political. There's no way to have a conversation about expanding the court without that conversation being rooted, deeply rooted in politics. Is there a way then, here's my question, to have a conversation about expanding the court as we know it, changing the way the court operates as we know it? You heard Kim suggest earlier, Congress could decide that there are certain cases that don't go to the Supreme Court anymore. Is there a way to have a conversation about any of that, particularly since it is a body that is supposed to be nonpartisan and apolitical, where the conversation itself would not be expressly and overtly political, if that makes sense? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Every day, somebody somewhere is trying to silence the truth. Not on this show. For over 3 decades now, Tavis Smiley has been bringing you the conversations that matter, the voices that challenge, the ideas that move us forward, from the halls of power to the heart of the community. Tavis covers it all. Real talk in real time. This is Tavis Smiley.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage career track jobs. The LA Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. And they are advocating for a fair deal for black workers in the new Los Angeles City Charter. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing, or learn about union apprenticeship programs and trade registries, please visit lablackworkercenter.org. That's lablackworkercenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis and build a more equitable Los Angeles. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Can I touch this? Where does sand come from? Is this tree good for climbing? What happens if I mix these two things together? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Storing your guns securely is the best way to prevent family fire, including unintentional shootings. For more information on safe gun storage and ways to keep your family safe, visit endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org.
What do we keep in the attic? What's this thing called? Can I ride my bike backwards?
Like I said, kids are curious. It's up to us to keep them safe. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
Been dealing with the lies of Crenshaw Destination. I live on this street. I remember the first day I came and there was no parking. And they said it'd be 6 months just to fix the wall. They started putting the big boulders down. And my life has changed ever since then. My kids haven't had graduation parties. They haven't had birthdays. My car's been in the shop multiple times. All my tires have been replaced multiple times, each one. I spent $1,000 on my front lawn because it's 6 months. Keep replacing sprinkler. Now it's just dirt. You know, it's frustrating because I'm not a politician, but I know politics. You know, and I know the Smiley said the councilman, but I want to go above that. Karen, you want my vote? Make things happen. Talk is cheap. We can play these games. Period. Because you can't fix it, somebody will.
Not letting them get away with anything. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Kim Wehle, who is the author of the Substack newsletter, The Little Law School. constitutional law professor, former assistant U.S. attorney, brilliant scholar on all things law. Pleased to have her on this program in our final hour, which is just about up. So I asked a moment ago, Kim, if that makes sense at all to you, how it is that we even have a conversation about an entity, a branch of government that is on demand, or at least supposed to be, nonpartisan, apolitical, and yet I can't imagine any way that a conversation about making any adjustments to it doesn't end up being rabidly, overtly political.
Well, it'll be accused of being political. Just discussing the Constitution and the rules in the Constitution is perceived as political because, again, we have a president who's ignoring it. So that goes into, red versus blue camps. But I think we still have to have it because we have to preserve our system for our future generations. I mean, anybody who has a child or a grandchild or a niece or a friend who's under voting age, that person, that child has no agency over how their future is going to be. And there's reasons why, there was a revolution fought. And of course we had problems with enslavement and, civil rights for many, many years in this country. And that's going the other direction. But there's a reason that all of that work was done to not be under the thumb of ideologues and, in this moment, corporations. I mean, that's really what we're seeing with our government, is that billionaires and corporations are almost eclipsing the traditional system of government. Our government leaders are beholden now to the private sector. We've never seen that in the history of humankind, and at least in the United States. And the Supreme Court has been kind of a handmaiden to that process. So what do we do about it? It starts with this kind of conversation. It starts with education. Everyone should get on the Constitution bike and learn the basics. I mean, I don't know how to fix my car if it breaks down. I have to call a mechanic. And, if our government and our system, our rights and civil liberties are breaking down, we're losing them. And so, no one's going to know what to do about it if we don't understand the diagnosis and what the issue is. And if people really understand how the Supreme Court sits and is supposed to sit, as you indicated, in our structure of government, it's there to call balls and strikes, not to make laws, not to override constitutions, not to pick certain presidents over other presidents. If we understand that that's bad for everybody, and a more rational, even-handed system will benefit, what goes around comes around, maybe we can get more public engagement around protecting the institution that's created by the Constitution, which is we the people, government by we the people, not by we the powerful.
We the people, not we the powerful. There's your quote of the day. Our remaining moments with Kim Wehle, when we come forward, we'll talk about the fact that these GOP states have joined the Department of Justice, where she once worked as a U.S. attorney, in asking the Supreme Court to let Trump block some of these mail ballots. He ain't done targeting mail ballots, and we ain't done yet until we get a final word on that from Kim Wehle on Tavis Smiley.
Who's sitting across from Tavis this week? Leaders, legends, game changers, the people shaping the country and the culture. They come to Tavis Smiley because this is where the real conversations happen. No spin, no fluff, just straight talk and straight answers. Tavis Smiley, because the Kingian question, where do we go from here, starts right here.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. At the heart of the Al Wooten Center's mission for good citizenship and academic excellence is a desire to ensure that every student avoids the kind of lifestyle and overcomes the kinds of challenges that led to the murder of Al Wooten Jr. In 1990, founder Myrtle Faye Rumpf opened the center in honor of her son's life. In 2026, they are serving more than 300 students in grades 3 through 12 annually online and on site at their youth center and other sites in the South LA area. The Al Wooten Jr. Youth Center takes a neighborhood approach to the revitalization and empowerment of a community in crisis. The Wooten Center provides free after-school and summer programs to help students in grades 3 through 12 attain grade-level proficiency and promotion, high school graduation, and college and career access and success. The Al Wooten Center focuses on academics, STEM, the arts, and so much more. Join them for an enriching experience that sparks creativity and nurtures young minds. Tap in at WootenCenter.org. That's WootenCenter.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Roger and Tracy saved over $18,400. Cynthia was recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right. You save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
You say you'd never give in to a meltdown. Never let kids' toys take over the house. And never fill your feed with kid photos. You'd never plan your life around their schedule. Never lick your thumb to clean their face. And you'd never let them leave the house looking like less than their best. You say you'd never put a pacifier in your mouth to clean it. Never let them stay up too late. And never let them run wild through the grocery store.
Peanut on aisle 6. And aisle 3.
So when you say you'd never let them get into a car without you there, know it can happen. 1 in 4 hot car deaths happen when a kid gets into an unlocked car and can't get out. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed for 2 more minutes. That's all I have left. 2 minutes with Kim Wehle. Kim was talking earlier about red and blue camps. This is inside baseball, but Kim will appreciate this if you don't. Today is the deadline for these 23 Democratic states who are challenging Trump's order on mail-in ballots to file their rejoinder brief. So today's the deadline for the Democratic states, but these GOP states have been lining up asking the Supreme Court to allow Trump to block some mail ballots. Can you make sense of that, Kim, in 2 minutes and what it all means for us?
Yeah, that should put everybody's spidey sense up. This isn't even about blocking mail-in ballots. This is about Donald Trump wanting to create a national database of legitimate voters that then the Postal Service, if you're not on the database, the Postal Service can reject your ballot. This is blatantly unconstitutional, which is why the lower courts said no to it. But we never know with the shenanigans that happen once it gets to the United States Supreme Court. But we all should be on high alert that this is not going to be business as usual in November, and everyone today needs to make sure that they are they're registered. All of their voting stuff is, you're crossed your T's and you've dotted your I's, and you're, get 2 more people to do the same thing, because there needs to be massive, massive numbers of voters to outmaneuver the shenanigans that are undoubtedly underway as we speak.
Kim Wehle, I thank you for your insights. She is a constitutional law professor, former assistant U.S. attorney, best-selling author, and is the brilliant mind behind the Substack newsletter called The Little Law School. So class is out for the day, at least over here. Kim, you can now return to the rest of your work. Thanks for your insights. Thanks for joining us in this hour. I appreciate it deeply.
Always great to be with you. Thank you for having me, and have a great rest of your week. Thank you.
I deeply appreciate you. We close today's program with, again, the news of the day here in Southern California. Again, honored and humbled that we are syndicated across the country, but sometimes you got to focus on what's happening in your neck of the woods, and here in our neck of the woods in Southern California. The United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit today affirmed, a 3-judge panel affirmed Mark Ridley-Thomas's convictions for 1 count of conspiracy, 1 count of bribery concerning programs receiving federal funds, and 5 counts of honest services, mail, and wire fraud. So the decision, after almost 2 years, has finally come in. He has lost his appeal at the Ninth Circuit. There's still more options for him, as we discussed on today's program, but I'll leave it there for now. That is the news of the day. If you're here in L.A., again, we welcome your comments throughout the day and the days ahead about this major earthquake of a political decision by the Ninth Circuit. Until tomorrow, thanks for tuning in to Tavis Smiley, and as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Island with BIN News Now on the Black Information Network. Former Vice President Kamala Harris thinks the U.S. needs more Supreme Court justices. She recently spoke to the National Urban League Conference in Nashville, Tennessee. As she put it, we need to revisit the point of expanding the court to 13. President Trump's Truth Social is now selling early...